Welcome into a special edition of the Tuesday show here, the Jordy Culotta show on this Tuesday edition.
Wait, I was like, are we doing a special edition
Tuesday show. Every day's a special edition, especially with Katie here.
The California time has definitely caught back up to me. I woke up and it was 6:25.
Yeah, no joke. I got here and it was dark, and I was like, wait, am I being punked? Like, there wasn't a show today.
It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
How are what's your life like
Look,
right now?
People are having it much worse in Homa
Great
and
perspective.
River parishes, so we are fine.
Great perspective.
But thank you.
Power back?
We got power back at 10 last night.
Okay.
Oh, no way. Entergy wasn't supposed to show up till September 17th, and some random Canadian crew showed up. And helped us.
Okay, then.
Okay. Had a little effect on you.
Oh, boys need a little bit of help
They were
with the
so
power.
nice. That's exactly. We were like, who are these people? Like, there's nothing on the truck. I don't know who sent them.
You want some French fries and gravy for your way out? I got some in the truck.
So David is like, hey, guy.
Hey, guy.
So y'all are back. No threat of losing it?
I don't know, Jordy. We
Okay,
got some
I
other
hear it.
stuff
My bad,
going on
my
today,
bad, my
so
bad.
I don't know. I don't know.
Get the Canadian
Enough
number.
with your questions.
Right now, we're good. Okay, I've had a hot shower and I'm here. So
Oh,
This
gosh.
man
Good for
woke
you.
up
I'm
at
sorry.
6:30 with the show at 7.
I know,
Spills
right?
2 cups of water.
Ugh.
Opens up a package, and it's like, I guess we'll do the show. the pillow was still on his face. Like, you could see where it's imprinted.
Sleepwalking in here this morning.
Everybody.
That Pacific Coast time will catch you, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, once you become accustomed to living on it, that 2 hours, that little 2 hour buffer you got. I mean, I looked up last night. It was 11:30 at night. I'm still up, like operating.
You're moving.
You know what I
getting
mean?
some
Like
things done.
I knew it. I was like, tomorrow morning's gonna be
hell.
rough, bro. It's good to see Katie. It's good to see Noah. Noah's been. You were at school, class, campus is up and moving.
Today.
Today he's back. Yes.
I didn't have gas. I got gas for the first time.
Wow.
In like a week and a half
Canadians?
yesterday.
Where did you find it?
They had one in Central. The
Yeah.
gas stations in Central got it.
good.
Lizzie, everything good?
Oh, good, man. Oh,
Yeah.
good. I've been living in the future over there.
You have been. Yeah, you were out of power for like 10 minutes.
I woke
You're like,
up.
all right, let's do a
Hot
show.
as hell
I'm
in
like,
here.
what?
What's going on? Kicks right. I was like, oh, never mind.
That was back.
Katie was throwing so much shade.
I was
Just
so
so
mad.
passive aggressive
Like,
in the group
shut
chat saying,
up.
oh, nice party you're having over there.
I mean,
Must be nice.
I got my notification. I'm like, oh, everyone's at Lloyd's, including other random people that just showed up.
Look like
people-
power.
I didn't get the
Even
memo.
people
I
without
wanted to come
power.
over and sit in the AC and maybe get some food from Lily, but whatever.
Buddy, that was all in the chat.
Frank Wilson will be here at 7:30 in the morning. Coach Wilson will be talking about the McNeese LSU matchup this weekend. Over at LSU, Cowboys lost 5 of their last 7 games. Cody Ogeron last weekend, 367 passes, 367 yards, 2 touchdowns for the senior. So a nice outing for Ogeron. We'll talk to Frank Wilson what he anticipates of the trip over to Baton Rouge this weekend. LSU coming off of a loss. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for McNeese in their preparation? We'll ask Coach Wilson coming up here at 7:30 this morning. We'll talk more LSU football with Brody Miller coming up here at 8 o'clock. Brody's got some good pieces over at The Athletic that you can read up on to get caught up on LSU football. Remember, we always encourage you to get over there and get your subscription to The Athletic, as it's a great inside source if you're looking for LSU football news, New Orleans Saints football news, as Brody's got his takeaways from the LSU UCLA game, also some of the things that should be trending in the direction of helping the Tigers fix it before Saturday. Ed Ogeron going to be speaking a couple of times today. He'll be on his local radio morning hit this morning with T-Bob and Jacob over there at 7:30 this morning. Then he'll be speaking to the press at noon today. So he was scheduled for his weekly press conference, and that'll usually happen on Mondays on a normal game week. Obviously, this week a little off with what's happening with the Labor Day holiday, and the Tigers were off yesterday. I think they actually practiced and went through a normal game week on the field. But as far as the media goes, Coach Ogeron going to be here with his weekly press conference today at noon, and everybody's kind of anticipating on what he's going to say. I think he'll be asked some questions, obviously, about Saturday's struggles, some of the things that went on in and around the game. It'll be interesting to hear some of his comments today, as we said that he will be speaking a couple of times today. Karen Mott says, I bet you he cancels a radio show. I bet he doesn't.
Ooh,
I mean,
that would be weird if he did.
he has he's held that spot for about 2.5 years now, 2 years on Off the Bench, which is a local radio show here in town that we used to work on. In fact, when we were there, we established the relationship and established that 7:30 time slot with Ed Ogeron. And he has routinely been there every single week, whether it be through criticism or compliment. He is always at that 7:30 Tuesday speaking engagement. And I think T-Bob, he and I were talking last night. He's really got a great opportunity here this morning. I think Ed Ogeron's probably, right now in college football, one of the most intriguing characters to hear from or to speak with, just because of so much hovering over his program, whether it be the performance on Saturday, whether it be the public relations from him on the job, whether it be his status into the future on just some of his thoughts, and then you just get to his team. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with Ogeron right now, and and T-Bob, that's an awkward spot for especially somebody like T-Bob. And I think, if you're listening to this and hearing me, I'd love to get a piece of Ed Ogeron at 7:30 in the morning on a Tuesday. At this point, especially on this platform, it's much more liberal, it's much more free, it's much more open. To questions that may be lurking out there on that 7:30 hit with a company that is tied to LSU through a contractual relationship. It's tough to really jump into the weeds of what may really be plaguing LSU at this point, because a lot of it seems like it's of Ed Ogeron's doing. So some of the questions would really have to be pointed, or you would think be pointed about what the status is of LSU. I understand the position that T-Bob is in. That's a very awkward spot. Jacob Hester too. I mean, Jacob Hester was on the radio call for the LSU football game last weekend. He took Doug Morrow's place because of Doug being unable to travel out to California just due to some COVID concerns. So Jacob filled in and was the color guy on the radio. I'm sure he did a fantastic job.
You didn't have your headset on, and you said
I didn't hear anything. But I'm sure he did a great job. But it's a sticky situation with that relationship and how you handle it when LSU struggles, right? I mean, I was on the pre and the post game show for LSU in 2016. The year that Les Miles was fired. Our first show was in Wisconsin. The day that they got upset by Wisconsin in Lambeau. And my natural instinct on the post-game show was to rail on Les Miles. But I had an LSU Sports Radio Network shirt on in my responsibility. So I had to really temper my sentiment. But then Monday morning, when we move into our regular 9 to 5 playing role of hosting local radio in South Louisiana, it's your responsibility to give your opinion of what you saw and what you think of the team, the program, moving forward, where they were. It's just a very sticky spot. It's a tough spot to navigate. I know that people hear that spot, they hear that interview, They speculate on why the real tough questions may not be asked, but that's a lot of the stuff that you have to think about behind the scenes, and you still have to think about them here on this platform, but you can be more open and honest. You can be more free, and like some of the things that you say may affect your relationship or your relationship with the coach or your relationship with the program. I mean, that's some of the things that you have to be careful and navigate in and around when talking about this type of stuff, especially when it gets to a point like it is right now, where it seems like the blood is in the water and the sharks are circling around Ed Ogeron and his staff, or at least his immediate staff, the people in and around him. the Derek Panamskis of the world. So it's going to be a day for Orgeron. I'd imagine that he'd be asked a lot of the questions that people are curious about and that the people are discussing right now at some point.
How long does that hit usually?
12 minutes.
So how much do you think that will be football related in terms of the UCLA game and then the McNeese game looking forward? Or is it all, do you go off the jump with, look, a lot of smoke, you always say we got to, close out the noise. Do you think is that how you lead it in with something like that? Or is it strictly UCLA, let's look forward to McNeese, and then you pepper one or two, how do you feel about the state of the program?
I think T's going to ask him about the performance. To me, what T-Bob is incredible at is his ability to watch a film and then translate it back to the listener on what he saw. He can break it down very listenable.
Simply,
and he
yes.
makes it very simple in what he saw. And he's fantastic in doing that type of work. So I'd imagine that he's going to feel comfortable in asking him a lot of football questions, and especially the fact that the offensive line is really the unit that struggled
the most,
probably arguably the most, and that's what his specialty is. Obviously, he played that position, and he does a great job of watching film and kind of seeing what the problems were and bringing it back to a analytical role and discussing and telling what he sees. So big day as far as the media goes for Ed Orgeron, in the sense of you will hear from him a couple of times today, and then he's got his radio show tomorrow night, which I'm curious about how it will go, because the temperature on Orgeron has totally changed from the public.
Man, has it ever?
I
know my take doesn't mean a whole lot surrounding this, but I'm one game. I know there was some stuff going into this, PR stuff around him and all that, but I've never seen a fan base turn on a coach after one game this.
I was kind of thinking the same thing last night.
It is severe.
Remember when going into this season, we were talking about the LSU-UCLA game and how I thought it was imperative he win it, and you're like, no, he can survive the week one loss, but just the way that it looked, it turns out it had to look differently.
Right.
That seems to be the biggest issue, is LSU fans are fed up with going down this path of believing somebody that obviously seems to not be telling the truth.
Right.
So I think that's where this big public outlash is coming from, and then you pile on the antics that go along with it, and it's this perfect snowball of, I don't like that.
Right.
It's it's just this ugly thing that people don't, that they've almost created in their mind.
Right.
There's nothing but negative energy all around it.
Usually you have pockets of positive people who are still super supportive, but I've yet to see that.
And I think he can still survive it.
Yeah,
but if we come out against Mississippi State and do the same thing, then I don't think he can. Especially with the way Louisiana Tech played against Mississippi State the other night.
I know.
I agree, man. I think he's got this 2-week buffer to clear the noise, get everything, settle everything in, play well against Mississippi State, and then the wheels can continue moving forward.
Yeah.
But then it jumps into a much bigger task of that stretch where he's got 4 SEC games in a row that are brutal, and if he goes 1-3 in that, the spotlight is right back on him.
But can he come back from this? Do y'all feel like he can come back from this?
I know Jordy doesn't think so.
Well, I think he can from a football standpoint.
Yeah.
That's what I
If
mean.
his team performs on the field, that erases everything. See, that's what highlighted Saturday. That's really what highlighted the weekend struggle. If he goes out and wins the game on Saturday, there's a bad stench around the win, but you're really not talking about as much of the PR blunders that he had this weekend as we would have in a loss. I think they'd still be prevalent. I still think that the administration, win or lose, would still be pissed off by the way that he went back and forth with a fan walking in. You just don't want that look. Look at the backlash, or look at the position that LSU has taken since the head coach has made that comment, what they have become in the national spotlight of college football. Every single talking head I saw yesterday was talking about the sissy blue shirts
Yep.
and where it originated from, and how UCLA really won the day. Not only did they win the game, they are continuing to just roll,
Their social media.
steamroll on social media.
It's awesome.
I mean, I ordered a sissy blue shirt.
You did?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, prisoner of the moment.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me,
Think
man?
you get that thing signed?
Yes, indeed.
Send that one in the mail.
I actually didn't think anything of that comment either when it was made. Like, I mean, when that happened and I saw that happen, I laughed.
I mean, when we watched it, we got hyped for the
Yeah, we
game.
got fired up.
Yeah,
We were all
like I did not take that as like how other people did. I feel like it started spiraling out of control shortly after that. But when I first heard it and saw it, I was like, eesh. But like, oh, that was funny. That's something he would say. I guess is how I
look,
took it.
I think that was probably that's probably the majority of the reaction,
Yeah.
right? But somewhere within the majority's reaction, there is a cringe.
Yeah,
There
for
is
sure.
a that didn't seem right. Like
Yeah.
I've never seen that. You know what I mean? That's kind of the thought you get. I mean, and just see, people that have seen it for the first time, they're like, wow. Like it's so shocking to see him go back with a fan like that. I've just never seen a coach engage with somebody like that, where it's just like it's almost forced. Like, I mean, like the guy's
Yeah.
like, like, lock the gates, we're gonna beat you today.
Yeah.
You know what I
It
mean?
was, like, lighthearted.
It wasn't like he was like, hey, F you, Ed Ogeron, F you and your family, man.
Rip your shirt off.
Yeah, right. Like, screw
coming for
you. I mean, the guy was like, lock the gates, we're going to beat you today. Ha ha. I mean, the next thing you know, the head coach is threatening to kick his ass because of the color of his shirt. And I think Ed Ogeron's bosses are like, this is enough, man. I mean, this is comical. This is a joke. I mean, that he doesn't understand the scope of what the public relations means to this job. After all the conversations, I think that's what's most exhausting from the people superior to him. His superiors to his job are just exhausted in the fact of, after everything that we've talked about, after all the meetings that we have shared, all the examples that we have painted for you, and before the season kicks off, you're mocking us around town the day before the game, and then you're threatening opposing fans before the game even kicks off. Like, man, how can we help you? How we have tried to show you the way to really support you and try and keep you in this role so you can continue to be the head. But you just totally disrespect this part of the job.
Right.
You either don't get it or you're not going to have it. And that's non-negotiable. You know what I mean? That's a non-negotiable component of being LSU's head football coach.
If you're losing.
Even in winning, I'm telling you, he was building up a case for, if it ever went like that within one game, the narrative has now totally changed. But even with the winning, the stuff behind the scenes was happening, right? I mean,
Right.
There was a lot of wins, or not even really wins, because last season is when really all of the public relation missteps really started to happen. Is when people started to realize he just doesn't get it, or he thinks that he's a made man, that nobody's going to mess with him, that nobody's going to reprimand him, that nobody is going to tell him, if you don't change this, you're going to be without a job. You're not going to be LSU's head football coach. And make no mistake about it, this is Ed Ogeron's dream job. This is his ultimate. This is, from a career standpoint, he will never achieve this high of self-gratification as he has in being the head coach of LSU. And if this, in fact, cost him his job, he will have nobody to blame but himself, because of the opportunities, the conversations, the leadership and guidance that people have tried to provide him since he has been in Baton Rouge, and he's just bucked it. He's just said, no, I'm above that. I'm not listening to that. I'm not respecting that. I'm not going to do that. Nobody can tell me how to live my life. Hold up, man. Hold up. Nobody's telling you how to live your life. But since you signed that contract that's paying you $7 million annually, there's some responsibility that comes along with it. And the responsibility is for you to understand that this is a 365-day a year, 24-hour a day, 7-day a week gig. And it doesn't matter if you're walking the sidelines wearing the purple and gold with the headsets on, or if you're in a
sissy blue shirt.
If you're in a sissy blue shirt riding down some channel in Port Fourchon and somebody makes a comment to you, you're still the LSU head football coach. That's how you're recognized. That's why they're talking to you. That's why they're making comments to you. So your first instinct may be to turn the boat around and go threaten to beat up the camp. But really and truly, you can't do that. You've just got to let that slide. And I know that you're a single guy and that you are out there and been married for a long time and you got a thirst for it and you want to go chase it. That's all cool, man. That's fine. But you can't put it in people's face in the public, and you especially can't be doing that 24 hours before a game on a road trip in which you're operating with some urgency here to save your job.
Well, he said it himself. He's like, this is the most important opening game I've ever had as a head coach. Mm-hmm. He's like, he knew that going into it. He said the right things going into UCLA as a coach that felt like there's probably a lot of pressure on him. Mm-hmm. He said, look, I'm taking this as seriously as I've taken any other football game. This is the most important game I'll coach in my first game as a head coach.
Yeah.
And then you see him obviously not taking it as seriously as what he said.
He's lost his edge, man, if you ask me. That was really what, to me, got him the job. He was, if you
grinding.
Remember his motivation when that job was in front of him, he was run through every wall, make every change, make it seem as if he was very grounded and humbled by the opportunity. And something, to me, it was 2019.
In the contract.
I mean, the 2019 was the changing factor for him, where it's still, to me, I believed that he was really operating under the same, the same mindset as he was when he took the job. And then that success just opened up this need for almost credit of what was going on to try and save his face, in the sense of he was the captain of the ship. I'm the head coach. We're going to do it my way. Like, oh, this isn't going to go well, man.
He didn't behave that way at Ole Miss and USC, though, right? I don't remember there
He's
being
a totally
like PR
different
drama.
Person. He's a totally different. Yeah, there was. Well, he was, from a public relations standpoint at Ole Miss. It was more of the way that they handled him, right? I mean,
yeah.
It was more of the way, the Hummer commercial is how he's remembered.
Lives forever.
I mean, that's how he's remembered. I mean, really and truly, if his tenure at LSU was over in the next 60 days or after this season, don't you think one of the biggest highlights that he'll be remembered by will be one of the comments that he made against an opposing team? I mean, the sissy blue shirt is going to. It will now be identified with him.
Yeah,
it's one of those coaching moments where you have the Les Miles kiss him on the mouth.
Exactly.
If they're a girl, it's one of those moments where, like, I'm gonna remember that one probably for a while. You know, it's like for good or bad. Like when it happened to Les, LSU was winning, and it was actually received, publicly, like, oh, that's Les being Les. Pretty funny moment in front of a microphone.
Yeah.
And then when you look back, you're like, look at this guy. Like, you should have seen the signs coming, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, those things live on forever. And when you look at, like when you mentioned Ole Miss and what he did there, it was, I'm doing it my way. Mm-hmm. That was the scariest part of that quote, was because he's even admitted it himself. When he was at Ole Miss, he said, I tried to do too much. As the head coach, I tried to be special teams coordinator, defensive line coach, offensive coordinator, and that to me is, I'm doing it my way. When I come to into 2021, that harkens back to, I'm going back to how I did it at Ole Miss, where I want to be involved in everything because, and when he said it that way, it means so much to him.
Yeah.
But it seems like he's almost like strangling strangling it.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Wilson had to move our interview this morning. They got some things happening down in Lake Charles. We'll let you know when we can patch back up with him. Daily, we're brought to you by Cajun Ready Mix. Welcome aboard. Cajun Ready Mix Concrete. Ryan Heck and Steven Cheatham and Bradley Cairo and the good crew over there at Cajun Ready Mix provide ready mix concrete products and services to meet all of your needs. It doesn't matter if you're in need of residential, commercial concrete, industrial, or municipal concrete. Cajun Ready Mix has 9 certified plants to service the greater Baton Rouge area and all major outlying cities, which means if you need a concrete slab poured, you can probably get it pretty fast from Cajun Ready Mix. At Cajun Ready Mix, they strive to premier the provider of high quality. They have experienced professionals to assist you with your commercial, industrial, or residential concrete needs. Get in touch with them online. Got a great website at CajunRMC.com. CajunRMC.com. Cajun Ready Mix Concrete guarantees that all of their deliveries will be completed on time and to their exact specifications. High quality concrete, grade A equipment, red carpet service, and they stick to their clear safety standards over there at Cajun Ready Mix, online at CajunRMC.com. So we will talk to Brody Miller coming up here at 8 a.m. this morning and get the latest from his point of view on LSU. He was out, obviously, in Pasadena this past weekend as LSU was taking on UCLA. We'll get his thoughts from Tigers and Bruins and then what goes on here moving forward. Shea Dixon will stop by and be in studio at 8:30 this morning.
Did he go to California?
He was in Cali.
And jet lag's just hitting you.
He was in Cali.
He's not coming.
Yeah.
He was in Cali.
Easy to roll over on that one.
We'll see. He's on the docket for 8:30 this morning. Couldn't believe Omar died, bro. The star of The Wire, Michael Williams.
I know, I saw that.
Has everybody seen
shocking.
The Wire?
No, I've never watched it.
You've never watched The Wire.
First-
Never watched The Wire.
I did
I expected Noah not to have seen it. It's very young. I mean, the Wire started in like 2002.
Did it really?
It's one of like
so
the
did I.
OG,
Yes.
like HBO
So did
programming.
Noah.
Yeah,
The originating dates on both 2002.
established 2002.
Oh my god, that's
HBO
weird.
like original programming in Noah.
But I'm telling you, that was the first great series I ever watched. Like, that was the first one I watched from start to finish that really captivated me, man. Like, that I couldn't put down. There's a lot of series that I've started that I haven't finished, and that are really good. You know what I mean? Like, that are really good, watchable television. But The Wire pulled me in, and it was almost like I could not put it down. I was watching episodes at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I was trying to get an episode before I could get into work. Right when I had a break,
Really, it's that good?
It was that good to me. I've expressed it to people, and I've seen that some people share it, some people have the passion for it. Really, like, it gripped them like that, and some people are like, it's okay.
It was just especially in the time frame that you were in, because the TV wasn't that good yet. Like, they didn't have, like, I think The Sopranos was probably the first show
I never watched that
on
either.
HBO where it was
watching
like,
it right now.
yeah.
I think I might need to
And
go
that's
back
what a lot
and
of
do
See,
people
I
that.
do.
tapped
come-
out on The Sopranos.
Really?
Like,
I
I
don't
tapped
get
out
into
on
a
it
lot of
like in
series.
in season 4 or 5. Like, I mean, I just was.
Out.
Well, it wasn't like that I was out. I just was never pulled in, you know what I mean? Like, The Wire
pull
wouldn't
you
let me
back
put it
in.
down. Entourage wouldn't let me pull it down. Breaking Bad, I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
You're right.
You know what I mean? The Americans, I
didn't
couldn't
see
put
that
down. Even Succession that
I
we're in
couldn't
now.
get into that.
I am
I
really
had to, like,
looking
force
forward.
myself
I think
into
it's
it.
this weekend.
Yeah, I think it comes out this weekend.
Yeah.
What, the finale?
No,
No,
the
this
new
starts season
Oh
season.
3.
god, there's another season?
Yeah.
Oh.
Succession.
And see,
will-
like, I can't wait for that.
And I think that is what that, like, those good shows do. They pull you in and you feel like you're a part of it almost. Like, especially with The Wire, when you're watching that first season, I've never seen anything filmed like that. And I was like, oh, I feel like I'm a part. Even when they would skip cut to, like, different parts of the scenes, like, whether you're with the police or you're with the Baltimore gangs, like, you feel very immersed in the relationships and how they communicate with each other. And it's
Yeah.
just like, I feel like I'm a fly on the wall here. Like, I feel like I'm here, but thank God I'm not. And so that's what The Wire kind of did. It gives you very, like, introspective look to how they operate in different parts of
Wow.
America.
Y'all work for HBO? or-
David Simon, who was the producer, the creator of The Wire, also was the creator of Treme, the series down in New Orleans, which I tried to get into and couldn't really.
And that was- it was
finish.
hyped
a
up,
lot.
man.
Yeah, it was, and I watched a couple of seasons of it. but that was also a draw to the wire, is that there's a little New Orleans feel to it, even though Simon is a Maryland native. And if you hear Maryland or people from that area speak about the wire, like Scott Van Pelt is from Maryland, and he speaks about the wire.
And it's authentic.
Like it is absolutely, if you are from that area, that paints the picture of what it's like to come from there. And that is one of the things that draws you, in my opinion, to the wire, is that it feels so real, right? But where I was going with that is that David Simon has a love for New Orleans that he has expressed in certain interviews, and sometimes you can hear him speak, and you can feel that come through in like a lot of the music within the wire feels New Orleans. It's kind of brassy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It kind of has a New Orleans feel to it. But I hated to see Omar, bro, because I mean, as far as characters go,
iconic
in series, he is one of the most iconic characters in television history.
Where you actually felt a little scared, whatever, like
yes.
Omar coming, like, oh shit, something's about to
Whoa.
happen. Yeah.
I mean,
and sometimes it'd be nothing.
And he'd be whistling on the way out, man.
Bulletproof vest
yes. I mean, just a iconic character.
I mean, he cleaned up. Whenever Omar was coming, something's about to happen.
Yes, and everybody knew it.
Uh-huh.
Even the
a fixer.
Even the headiest of thugs would like, oh shit,
yeah.
Here comes Omar.
He died. It was like an overdose, right?
Yeah,
Is that how he died?
It looked like there was some drugs on the scene.
Yeah, he was. They found him on the couch. They said there was drugs in the building, but they didn't say. Yeah, they didn't say what it was. So I don't want to speculate. Don't know Omar.
Yeah.
But sad day.
Yeah, it was. It was
iconic
a sad day.
With
Iconic.
his look, because he said he got that. He has that scar on his face, and he said it would like typecast him for the rest of his career. It's like, at least it gave me a career. Like, he wanted to be like a backup dancer.
Yeah.
And he got in a street fight when he was 25.
Wow.
I think it was in New York, and it like they cut his face up, and it like permanent scar, obviously. And he was like, now I got all these roles as like this badass. So he's like, I'll take them. Like, I'm rolling dice in the street. I don't care. I'll take that part. Like, yeah, man, you look it. And he's like, oh, cool. I'll embrace it.
Well, you can see the respect that Hollywood had for him. I mean, and just some of the tributes to Michael Williams was his offstage. His real name was Michael Williams. I think that he's probably known for Omar. When I saw the news, it was on Twitter, and it was announced Omar is dead. You know, and I thought it was a joke.
It was.
And then you kind of got into reading, and you see that 54 years old, young Michael Williams passed away over the weekend. So I hated to see that news. I thought that was very sad. Remember, daily here, we're brought to you by Go Chevrolet, GEAUX, Chevrolet.com. Go Chevrolet's got a couple of locations for you. You can find them out in Laplace, Louisiana, which is their new car lot. And then over here in Baton Rouge for their used car lot. Stop in and see them at Go Express Auto Sales. Our coffee daily is Majestic Coffees. It's locally brewed down here in South Louisiana. You can get your own at DeliciousSips.com. DeliciousSips.com. Our water is provided by True Blue Water, TRUBluewater.com. We got a couple of guests coming up today. Brody Miller is going to be here at 8 a.m. this morning. We will talk to Brody via the phone line, which is compliments of Metropolitan Health Group. Real doctors, real solutions over at Metropolitan Health Group. Stop in and see Jason Ramazan and Charlie Harvey this morning and tell you that you heard it here on the Jordy Culotta Show. And our spices is Papa Earl's, as Papa Earl's.
Oh, God, here we go. Third go-around with the
You
cup.
can find locally here. And this is what the can looks like. Papa Earl's, which is local down here in South Louisiana. You can pick up at Rouse's, High Neighbor, anywhere that you get Calandro's locally, your groceries. So we will talk to Brody Miller about LSU football. It's dominated so much of what we talked about this week. I'm almost becoming exhausted on the storylines of LSU.
That's what you're supposed to do.
No, I know.
For the fact, especially if you're where we are in Baton Rouge, if it's a national topic, we're going to talk about this until the cows come home, because you got to lift every rock and look for every bug to see if there's some sort of story that you can squeeze out of this, because I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
and it hasn't been about McNeese or really the game. It's just been about how LSU how quickly the fan base has turned on somebody that they would, rip their shirt off to defend.
So quick.
And now it has turned into where he seems like target number one.
Yeah. What's it going to be like with his son playing here?
See how much he loves him.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna send the dogs
He's
after
going
him.
to get him.
I know.
I mean, it's almost like he has to.
He
Right.
does have
You know,
to.
I mean, he's got to come out here and make a statement
Father Abraham.
this weekend. And yeah, right. His dad seemingly has his life on the line over on the LSU sideline. You know what?
It's going to be awkward.
It's going to be this whole thing is awkward.
Yeah.
This whole thing is now trending into a awkward position where
You don't even want to play McNeese right now.
yeah, I mean, like it's like you just don't even know what to expect, what the game plan is, where Ed Ogeron's head is
Spinning.
at. I mean, it's just it has to be some of the darkest days of his tenure have to be is what he's residing in right now.
Right. It goes to the Troy loss, I would imagine, and then here, where it just seems like everything's kind of like. Oh,
I gotta imagine last season had some dark spots.
oh yeah, but
You know what I mean?
But when the way that it was built up, and then he really caught not a lot of backlash for that, just because of COVID,
Yeah.
opt-outs, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, he gets a pass here.
Yeah,
You
everyone
know, he's
did.
coming off a national championship. Teams regress. He lost 15 players to the league. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of built-in excuses that didn't make it seem as bad as it obviously was. But now he doesn't. Whenever you're pumping up every new hire,
Right.
every position. We look great.
Yeah.
You know, there was never really any bad reports except for those. They're like, well, offensive line looks pretty suspect. But then they started to trickle in with the Dare Rosenthal and things like that. And then you go out and lose in the fashion that you did.
Dominated.
He's looking around for a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody's got to be in my corner.
right.
Jesse McCormick said, or does the son deal the final blow?
Well, if they get
Dude.
if they get beat by McNeese by Cody Ogeron, think if Cody Ogeron comes out and has a career day and LSU loses
would
to
happen?
McNeese,
Could never
how
happen.
how that would even go down? I mean, do you think they fight at Christmas dinner?
Yeah, they're not
I mean,
talking
do
to
you
each
think that
other.
they fight each
I mean,
other
what
at
would
like
you do if
Thanksgiving?
little Jay came for your ass whenever
know.
you're a 55-year-old coordinator and your son's 21 years old and he just takes you to the woodshed?
Well, hopefully, if I've got a gig making $7 million a year when I'm that age, I understand the importance of it, and I'm not trying to screw it up from some of the decisions that I'm making off the field.
No, I'm just saying as a matchup head to head. If you were a head coach and your son was and you played against your son who's the quarterback of the team, and you're like, oh, I kind of have to watch out for my kid here, and it's like, actually, I just lost the game. I have to go get his ass.
I know.
How
Are y'all
do you
going
coach
to the
against your own
game? Are y'all
kid?
going to this game?
Yeah.
You are? Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't know.
No, I'm going to go for at least a half.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm kind
we're
of scared.
we're going to be doing some whiskey and wine stuff, some post game stuff.
Yeah, we'll huddle back.
Back over here after the game. I know Rohan is going to be in the stadium with Micah, obviously playing Micah Davey. His son is going to be dressed out and playing for McNeese. But we will have some post game reaction. We'll probably do it from our studio at the UDL, just being that we're set up for it here to give some real time reaction, and we'll probably be doing that for the duration of the season. Not probably, we will be doing some type of post game effect, even though the Sunday night hit was a really good spot. I mean, it kind of gives you an opportunity to exhale a little bit, see what goes on, get the feeling
Gather
around,
your thoughts.
kind of get the feeling in and around of what's going on in the overall sport in college football, and even on Sunday nights, you'll have some time to react to the NFL and Saints. I mean, we haven't talked to Saints kickoff this weekend in Jacksonville versus Green Bay, as you know, week 1 of the NFL season cranks up on Thursday night.
Do you know why they picked Jacksonville as the landing destination?
Toughest place to get to.
No, it's apparently it's Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers'
That's
kryptonite.
where Aaron Rodgers plays his worst brand of football. Is in Jacksonville. They did some deep digging on analytics, and it turns out that for
He has
some
like
reason
a 3-something record in
Really?
Jacksonville.
in Jacksonville,
That's
so they
the reason
said, yeah,
behind
let's
it?
move it over there. Let's figure something out to beat Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
So the Saints were the ones that made the
Yes,
decision.
they were allowed to I guess pick wherever
And
they
that's
wanted
really
to go.
it? That's
yeah.
like their
I mean,
real
that's what it
I read.
said, so.
Okay. That's cool.
Do anything to stop that man because he's as good as they get.
Well, I mean, he's
Reigning
the reigning MVP. So we will see what that game looks like. I mean, it's crazy that you look up in the NFL season starts on Thursday night. The Saints are going to be playing down in Green Bay in Jacksonville. They'll be playing Green Bay in Jacksonville. this weekend. LSU is going to be taking on McNeese Saturday. That will be the first time that LSU fans have the opportunity to get to Tiger Stadium. I mean, put it on the poll. I really am curious. Are you going to the game this weekend? And then in that post on the vote, if you just want to vote yes or no there, let us know if you're going in just a tailgating capacity. Are you planning to go into the game? What are your plans this weekend? I wonder so much because of it's the first time people have the opportunity to go out to LSU and tailgate, which is one of the staples of who we are down here in this part of the world. It's always great to get around and be around people and socialize out in a tailgating atmosphere around LSU football.
Did we secure a golf cart yet, or
no golf cart?
No golf cart.
No golf cart. There obviously will be restrictions getting into the game, which will, I don't know. How does that affect your decision of going to watch? Or is this just going to be a tailgate only for you, where you just show up?
A lifetime ago discussing the COVID protocol. That was like a hot button. That was a hot button issue,
right?
And now that's just been swept under the rug. I'm sure we'll get back into it around Thursday or Friday. People will have their opinions again, but that's crazy how quickly this has moved.
Yes, it is.
Or are you just so turned off on LSU football right now that you know what? You're saying, hey, I planned on going, but I'm not even going to do the thing anymore. I'm not even going to commit to it. You know, I mean, I'm not even going to make the commitment of trying to get there because of what you saw in Los Angeles. I mean, I saw so many people in Los Angeles getting back on the plane, talking about, I'm done with LSU. I'm tired of giving them my money. I'm not making any more trips like this and paying the money and watching and going to see that type of effort and energy and all that stuff that was in Los Angeles. But that usually fades by Tuesday or Wednesday, right?
What the hell else are we going to do?
When people start talking about their plans for the weekend, and you got people throwing together tailgates and people looking at getting out there on Friday afternoon and starting the barbecue pits up and all the sights and the smells that come out of those areas when LSU is tailgating. So just what's your plans? How are you going to watch this weekend of LSU football? You going to the game and tailgate? You going just to tailgate? You going to just the game? Or have you had enough of what you've seen and you just said, look, man, I'm not going until I can get over what I saw in Los Angeles, or until something changes? Because it's interesting to judge the headspace of LSU fans right now, because there's so many emotion, there's so much out there, there's so much happening in and around the program that makes Yeah. Just
but it feels like a first day at school, though. It's like you're excited for the first day because you get to see everybody again. So I think that's going to be the big draw for LSU McNeese, is people want to go back to their old tailgate spots, see their old friends, do the things that they love the most, because it was taken away for a year.
Yeah.
So you want the ability to go see people you probably don't see all of the time, and you get to people coming in and travel. It's like a whole to-do. It's like that's what makes LSU tailgating probably the best experience you can have in college football.
Right.
Is how much they put into it and how much they pour into it, and to see the people that they want to do it with. So I'd imagine that would be a huge draw, as opposed to what the game is and how the Tigers play.
Yeah, I think so too.
A-Bears Specialty Meats, abearsmarkets.com is where you can find A-Bears Specialty Meats, the home of the famous stuffed chicken, the home of the D-bone stuffed chicken over at A-Bears. Stop in and see them. They got a location here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Then they got one out on Highway 73. Great freezer full of selection over there. If you are looking to throw something into the oven today and have about 2 or 3 days of something to eat on for you and the family, stop in to A-Bears Specialty Meats and pick up your selection today. They've got great choices on steaks, great choices on hamburgers, and also the D-bone stuffed chicken, which we tell you that they're famously known for. But pick up some etouffee, some gumbo, all of that right there in the freezer for you to take home. And then there's behind the counter. You can stop and grab some cuts of meat for home, for the office. Great gift ideas. Remember, with the holidays coming up, if you're looking for a great gift idea for your employees, for some of your clients, for anybody that you work with, get an A-Bears Specialty Meat gift card and hand them out to your clients and to your coworkers and to your employees for the holidays. It goes over well. Stop in and see them at A-Bears Specialty Meats, online at abearsmarkets.com. How good did Ole Miss look last night?
Great.
Wow.
See, that's another thing. that is haunting LSU right now is the teams that were were okay last year, that were new coaches, new regime, bad personnel, have made changes and have improved, right? I mean, if you looked at Ole Miss last night, the jump that they have made defensively and the attention that they have given the defensive side of the ball, both in recruiting and to the scheme, looks like it served them well in the offseason.
Absolutely.
They have gotten a lot better in that area. They couldn't get worse, but they made the point to get better.
Oh, absolutely. You saw like they made some new hires on the defensive side of the ball. They have co-defensive coordinators now, but they knew that was absolutely paramount because when you have a guy like Lane Kiffin, the offense is always going to be there. You always don't even have to worry about what they do on that side or really the players that he gets because he can make everything work. Mm-hmm. He's able to put people in positions to score and he's always been able to do it like less with more. And now he's building up this team where how many recruits did you say he offered on the defensive side of the ball?
16 of his 25 signees were on the defensive side of the ball. He got the top junior college linebacker in the country. He got one of the best safeties in the country. He flipped some guys from some SEC schools. I mean, he really made a pointed effort to improve defensively, especially from the personnel standpoint. And last night in week 1, they beat Louisville 43-24. Lane Kiffin was not there. Jeff Lebby was the guy that was kind of in control, especially offensively, calling plays. Matt Corral last night threw for 381 and a score.
That was so impressive.
Yes.
He looked in total command of that offense. He looked so good.
Walloped.
Yeah, he did.
On one play.
He did.
I mean, like, his head bounced up off the turf twice.
And then did it again.
I mean, bang, bang.
And on that. I'm good.
On that stuff. And,
yeah, they were strict on the old targeting on Sunday.
They must have
had some calls into the league office or TV or something to make them go look at this thing and be like, look, we're not calling this strictly enough. Because 4 targetings last night, there's gonna come to a point where this is gonna truly, I mean, it's happened with LSU already where it's truly affected games when you have Devin White having to sit out the first half against Alabama, and it's gonna get to the point where it has to be like a yellow card, red card situation or like a flagrant foul where it has to just be absolutely abhorrent that you've made head-to-head contact, went out the way to do it, because with the running styles of guys today, even quarterbacks are ducking their heads into opposing defenders. So it makes it impossible to call. There's no right way to do it. You're playing a violent game.
Was Louisville even supposed to be good?
No.
No.
Quarterback's
supposed to be good.
What were we really comparing to? I mean, first game.
Just to see how you look. First game,
Yeah.
you just want to see if it looks right.
Yeah.
And that's
have they improved?
Yes, and that's another buck against LSU. It just didn't look good.
Right.
Yeah.
How have they taken the weaknesses from last season and strengthened them? And Ole Miss could not have gotten any worse defensively last year. So, I mean, it wasn't as if you were watching to see if they were still bad or if they were going to be bad again. It was how have they improved? And they've improved tremendously from their personnel. They have stepped up and obviously paid attention to what their deficiencies was and made the pledge, the commitment to improving on that side of the ball, right? I mean, LSU knew they had an offensive line problem going into the season. They knew last year after the Ole Miss game when they looked up, they didn't even know that Shanahan was coming back. They didn't know that Ed Ingram was going to come back. They didn't know Austin Deculus was going to come back. I mean, they didn't know any of this news. They knew they had to get better on the offensive line before next season, and they showed up with the same 5 guys. Mm-hmm. And they showed up with
a new coach,
one commitment, one signee that could play in Garrett Dellinger. I mean, you knew the weakness, even the linebackers, even everything that we've heard from the linebackers. I mean, Bug Strong is all we hear about from Bug Strong is that he's laying people out in pre-camp, in training camp. And they got to keep him out of scrimmages because he's hurting people out there. He looked my size out there against UCLA. I mean, he looked as if he was undersized and
overwhelmed.
Didn't know where he was when watching that game. I know that that's his first piece of SEC action, but that's the guy we've been talking about all offseason. Like I heard more about Mike Jones Jr. than I did. But Bug Strong was this guy that could bust heads. Mike Jones Jr. was the guy that could run and could cover. and you got a tight end that's dicing you up the way that they are, and that guy can't get on the field. You know what I mean? It's just it's curious on what the deficiencies were for LSU and how they pledged to make them better. Ole Miss obviously improved on defense. I mean, they knew they were a step or two behind the rest of the competition, and Lane Kiffin, for as difficult as that is for an offensive-minded guy to do, think about that. You've only got 25 scholarships to hand out every single season. The offensive-minded guy is going to want wide receivers and quarterbacks and offensive linemen all day, and he goes into a meeting room and says, look, I'm going to give up the majority of the scholarships this year to defensive guys. I mean, that's not ideal for the offensive-minded guy to do, but he understands that, look, we got to get better or we're not going to be here.
Well, especially when you have two guys on the board that you're looking at, like one's a wide receiver and one's a linebacker. You're like, ooh, I'd always love to take this wide receiver here, and I think I can get him. And then you're like, no, you have to put yourself aside and be like, look, this is going to make the team better as opposed to make me look better because I'm calling the offensive plays. Mm-hmm. So it's a big, especially for Lane, big step up for him to be able to kind of put the ego aside and make his team better as opposed to make the Ole Miss offense hum. But I think they're going to be. That made me nervous about the game. That's for sure. Like when you look ahead to that schedule, Kentucky walloped. Like everybody in the SEC looked pretty solid, especially the ones on LSU's schedule. Mississippi State.
That was really weird, but yeah.
Great wild comeback.
It was.
What was Mississippi State's weekend like?
I mean, it was insane because they played Tech. And
I wasn't paying attention.
I'm sure you weren't. And I mean, I didn't get to follow everything, obviously, this weekend. But, yeah, it was pretty insane. I mean, I gave up because I'm a Bulldog, and you give up
35-34.
Yeah. Like, we've never made a comeback like that. Like, we don't make comebacks like that. Home
we scored
or away.
21 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's history making. And
wow.
It's not like I'm very excited about that because it's history making against La Tech. But you know what I mean? I mean, it's like,
better than losing.
It is better than losing, but it was cringy.
Yeah.
A little bit cringy. But I'll take the W.
Yeah, take the W all day, move.
That's what makes
on.
that Mississippi State game so important. Now you can't have them be put on the roast by Louisiana Tech, then LSU go in there and get diced up by some cowbells. And
I still haven't decided if I'm going to that game. Like, we have a room, I have plans, but I needed to see the first games, and then now I think I need to see week 2.
Who do you have week 2?
NC State?
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't judge off of that. I would think you would go because you're on full tilt. You have little LSU ties now.
I know.
And then Mississippi State, it could be a...
But here's the thing, like, my friends or people I went to college with, like, they won't show up. Like, if LSU is, like, beating everyone and then, like, it
won't
comes
be the
down.
case.
Well, I know, but...
That's what I'm saying. You have Mississippi State a chance to get a win, and then you'd be able to come in here, pump your chest a little bit.
I mean,
and then we'd be on skates over here trying to find a new coach.
We will see.
Daily, we are brought to you by Go Chevrolet. Remember, online at GEAUXChevrolet.com. Stop in and see the crew, Lee Carney, Nick Richard, and everybody down there. Happy belated birthday to Nick Richard here as he celebrates his 44th. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, 8 o'clock this morning, we're going to talk to Brody Miller. So in a couple of minutes, we will link up with Brody Miller from The Athletic as he is going to talk LSU football. We'll get the latest from him and his thoughts on where they stand going into this weekend versus McNeese, some of the changes that he believes could happen from a personnel standpoint this weekend, any new faces he expects to see out there. We'll talk about it with Brody Miller coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered daily by Go Chevrolet. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in LaPlace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU bluewater.com. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Check them out online at GEAUXChevrolet.com. We'll be telling you about our friends over at Falaya Real Estate here shortly. Stick around. Brody Miller coming up here, so we're going to talk to Brody from The Athletic. He's covering LSU football. Make sure you are following Brody on Twitter, all over social media, so you can keep up with what's going on out from The Athletic. You can follow him on Twitter at Brody A. Miller. We will talk to Brody weekly here on the Jordy Culotta Show, and he joins us now here on this Tuesday morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Doing okay, man. How was the trip to L.A.?
I can't complain, man. Gotta enjoy it Friday night a little bit, and yeah, man, the Rose Bowl is worth the praise, man. It's pretty amazing.
It was definitely a hell of a backdrop to watch a college football game with the San Gabriel Mountains and the sun setting and the powder blues and everything that went into the just the look and feel of that game felt magnificent. LSU is coming home with a tough loss and is scrambling here going into week 2. I read your 3 takeaways over at The Athletic earlier this week, and it was a great read. Make sure that you have your subscription over at The Athletic to keep up with what's going on with LSU. Insiders like Brody Miller have great insight for you to follow over there. The offensive line was something that we talked about in the offseason, and it looked like it plagued them in game 1. What was your biggest takeaway after watching LSU fall to UCLA?
Yeah, I think you and I both weren't exactly high on it, but I still thought it was going to be stable. I thought that starting line would be okay. I don't think I ever saw a scenario where it was, I'm not saying it's going to stay this way, but that was worse than 2018 offensive line performance, and I think they tell you that because, hey, at least 2018 they were able to move the ball on the ground a lot. I mean, Saturday, in the first half, I think it was 1 yard per carry. It ended with less than 3 yards per carry, or 2. It was like 2. I mean, that was pretty drastic. I mean, there were times where they would do even a 3-man rush and drop everyone back, and they still made Max Johnson run around. I mean, I know they were setting pressure all day, most of the day, and I know that that's a lot to ask an offensive line that, you know, is pretty much banged up all camp and never had the same guys together, sure, but there's just no real excuse for kind of how chaotic that was. They were sliding the wrong way half the time. I mean, guys who were supposed to be your stalwarts, your Ed Ingrams of the world, who was supposed to be your best lineman, I mean, he just got flat out, you know, beat several times. So it was definitely a shock to just kind of see how the offensive line played. But, hey, just to give benefit of the doubt, I could see them improving now to get a little more continuity if they can stay healthy. But that was rough.
Do you see anything that could fix their woes? I mean, the way that I describe it, Brody, is that there's not a waiver wire in college football. You can't play free agency. You can't call Clemson and propose a trade. You send a couple of DBs for some offensive linemen. I mean, do you see something that can fix this within this season?
Well, yeah, I mean, as much we talked all offseason about the need to develop depth, and I think we were talking about that in terms of injuries. But now we didn't talk about it in terms of what do you do if the starting five isn't helping you, and I think that's what's got to be kind of scary if you're LSU right now, is the idea that you're not even very happy with your depth, what are you going to do when your starting five's not good? There's not exactly a bunch you can pull from. And, hey, credit where it's due. Charles Turner actually came in at left tackle and looked as good as anybody. So, I mean, that's at least one guy who kind of stepped up a little bit. Maybe he's a good athlete. You know, who knows? Maybe he'll surprise you. But, yeah, I think that's got to be the concern. But if there's something to improve, I think the positive is that that one thing you can maybe convince yourself to cling to is, hey, this was a brutal camp. This was literally never had the same five out there for more than a few days at a time. Maybe that can improve, actually having the same five out there for the next 2 games against easier opponents, get a little flow and all that. Max Johnson get better with protections on the O-line, all that. So that's the main thing you can point to. But the rest, I don't know. I mean, granted, I'm not a line expert, but I don't know if there's something you can just be like, all right, we're going to fix this. That's what's kind of scary.
When did you get the news of John Emery and John Trey Kirkland? Was that a surprise to you that those guys weren't dressed out?
I'm so sorry. Can you ask that one more time?
The John Emery storyline and John Trey Kirkland. When did that hit you, and how surprising was that for you to see that those two guys were not dressed out?
I was surprised just because I had kind of gotten indications that at least the John Emery academic situation maybe had been sorted out, but I guess I was mistaken. But because I didn't report anything. But yeah, it was definitely a surprise just to be, obviously him, John Shea Kirkland, Tony Fanua, on academic issues, things that had kind of been a behind-the-scenes storyline all camp of, like, are they going to be ready and all that. And, yeah, that's a big hit. I mean, again, I don't think that's why the offense struggled, because I don't care who the running back was that game. There was nowhere for any running back to go. I don't think you can blame Ty Davis-Price for that running performance. So it's not like it cost them, but of course it stung. I mean, it's the idea that you're losing a very dynamic playmaker, and you were basically relying on a perfectly solid running back in Ty Davis-Price, but not a guy who's very dynamic. So that probably did limit them. Not just, benefit of the doubt. That probably did kind of restrict some of the stuff they could do, because a big thing that Emery brings is the idea that versatility, pass catching, moving around the field, lining up in the slot, all that. So it probably did hurt, but it definitely did make a difference.
The defensive struggles for this program were well documented last year. They were exploited by Mike Leach in week 1 versus man-to-man coverage, in which LSU was chasing all day. How crazy was that at 365 days later, they were struggling from the same issues under new direction and a new coordinator? What was your takeaway from the way that this defense looked a lot like last season?
I think my takeaway is that as a reporter, I've learned my lesson to not just wipe away problems and just assume they're going to get improved because of a new staff or experience. Because I kind of did buy the drink the Kool-Aid. I did think, hey, this team is so talented, and they are. There are a lot of draft picks on the defense. They're experienced. They have all those boxes you want to check. And guess what? Maybe you can't just fix those major issues in one offseason. I think that, and part of me wants to be like, hey, maybe I shouldn't be too hard on Durante Jones right now, because hey, these are things that pre-existed him, and they just haven't been fixed right away. And maybe I should give him the benefit of the doubt, because it's his first real game as a DC, and it's going against one of the best offensive lines of the 21st century. So, hey, maybe I'm going to wait to make a snap judgment on Durante Jones, yes. But still, it was troubling, just because, okay, and again, I'm never going to pretend I am the X-to-the-nose guru, but they're killing you on crossing routes, and you're not really adjusting that. They're doing the same things in the run game, it seems like, every time, depending on how you line up, and you never adjusted to that and never kind of got away. Like, everyone seemed to know where they were going to run it when you lined up a certain way, except you, things like that. So I think that's a little concerning, but not, I think there are positives to take, right? I think, for example, that first quarter was really impressive, but Chip Kelly adjusted, Durante Jones didn't as much, things like that. So I think the other thing you really have to be worried about is that, and I had somebody warn me about this a week before the season, saying, hey, the pass rushers on the D-line are elite. They're great. But it's not like they're necessarily run stoppers. And I think I yada that, being like, well, yeah, but talented D-line, they're going to be fine. And I think you saw, yeah, they're good pass rushers, but it's not exactly a great run defense. At least not yet. They are talented. They can figure that out. But I think that's going to be the big thing to watch. Because I think the pass defense can easily be figured out. I do. The run defense might be my bigger question mark.
How do you grade Max Johnson's performance?
Whew, it's tough, man. I need a book to go through that because it is complicated. I think my overall grade is probably like a C or a C plus, right? Where he was put in a brutal situation. So I am not going to dunk on Max Johnson. I think there's so much of this fan base that was like completely. I mean, my mentions were off the charts, being like he's not the answer. Like bring in Nussmeier, all that stuff. And hey, I don't think Max Johnson looked great. I don't think he thinks he looked great, but I think he had 3 guys in the pocket before he could take a second half the time. And I think he's a guy in his 3rd career start, and really his first one is QB1, which is kind of a different thing. I think you could see positives and negatives where, hey, in the second quarter, he did have some drives where he settled down and handled that pressure better. I think after that really, really bad interception, which, again, that was a really bad interception in the line of scrimmage, after that, I think he finished 12 of 18 for like 180 yards and 2 touchdowns in the rest of the second half. Again, it was they were down by a lot to benefit, a little nuance there, but he showed he could at least adjust. And also, I think Jake Beach showed he could adjust at least a little. He did adjust to what they were doing and kind of catered the offense to it. So I think Max Johnson, I'm not out on Max Johnson, but yeah, he was a little late on some open receivers and then kind of let them to get hit. And yeah, of course, the Trey Palmer miss was rough, all that stuff, but I think that's more a quarterback just getting used to the speed of this level and all that. I don't think I'm out on Max Johnson.
Should LSU fans have seen this coming? When you look at everything that was happening into the offseason, new coordinators, quarterback only making its 3rd start, but it seemed like the sentiment around the program was that LSU was going to win. But when you actually take a step back and look at it, this is an excellent spot for UCLA to pick up a win after you saw them play against Hawaii, but it seemed nobody took that into account.
Yeah, and I do think, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because it is at least, again, I don't think that's like an excuse, but it is a valid factor. It might not be 60% of what happened, but it might at least be 10, right? The idea that they did have more of a flow and a rhythm and an identity and knew what they were doing. LSU, again, not an excuse, but they did have to spend that week in hotels and on the road because of our hurricane and guys stressed back home. So, yeah, I don't think this is exactly what this LSU team is going to be for the rest of the season. I do think they will get better. And if they're not, they're in trouble. But, yeah, I think maybe to some extent we should have seen this coming just because, and it goes back to my early thing, hey, maybe I at least did wipe away some of those problems too easily. Maybe I did kind of look past UCLA. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right that this shouldn't be a shock. I think it's more just shocking because we tell ourselves a team this talented should just figure it out. And maybe we need to reevaluate how we think about that.
Brody Miller's joining us here from The Athletic, and read his work there at The Athletic, or keep up with him on social media at Brody A. Miller. He's a weekly here on the Jordy Culotta Show. What do you make of Ed Ogeron and his public relations from last weekend?
That's a leading question if I've ever heard one, sir.
If you've listened to the last 48 hours of this show, we've put it on record how we feel.
I heard you yesterday. Yeah, good work. I think I think he'd be probably the first to admit that he probably maybe shouldn't have made that comment to the fan, and I'm sure he'll mention that to today's press conference. It is a fine line. It's one of those moments where if you win that game, LSU is making shirts of that, and then if they lose, UCLA is making shirts of that. But yeah, I think Ed Ogeron, I think he would be the first to tell you probably deserves some of the criticism that you gave him yesterday, or that people are giving him right now. But I'm not I'm not exactly I'm not going to dunk on a guy until I don't know. Maybe I'm a coward, but I'm not quite out on Ed Ogeron. I know you're not either, or anything like that. But he deserves to be criticized right now. But I'm sure we'll figure it out.
I'm sorry for that question.
No. I respect the question. Yes. I just can't do much with it.
I know where you are. I know where you are on
that
it.
Zoom invite.
Yes, right. This weekend, the challenge for McNeese. What would you think would be? What are they looking to accomplish on Saturday? Obviously, to win the game, but from LSU standpoint, what would you go into the game? What are you looking to take away from it?
Yeah, I think it's just. It's an obvious answer, but it's just fixing things. It is a free week, and again, I don't mean to belittle McNeese, but it's just reality. It is a free week to figure things out, to try things. Like I know I believe said on the radio this morning. He's like, hey, you're going to see more outside runs. We're committing to being more dynamic in our run game. Well, this is by that, or he said. I believe he also said that they think they know exactly what's wrong with stopping the crossing routes. So you're going to see that. It's it's a week to just try things like that. It's a week to get more zone in that defense if you want to try that. And also it's just a week to get in rhythm. I think maybe the biggest winner of these next 2 weeks is going to be that offensive line, just to get some confidence, get some rhythm going, get some knowing each other a little better. So, yeah, I think that's the number one thing. It's so obvious and simple, but nobody more than LSU right now could benefit more from just having 2 weeks to just get things right. So by Mississippi State, you can actually kind of get tested again.
You mentioned, I believe, in your article about how proud Ed Orgeron was of his offense to be able to just run simple zone left, simple zone right with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. How much of that was he still implementing and wanted to see coming into this year, where he's like, well, this is the way that it worked, in 2019. Let's try to keep everything a little bit more simple. And when it turns out that was just kind of banging your head against the wall with two guys that really haven't accomplished much at LSU.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. And I think Ed Orgeron has almost to a fault, and again, actually, I'll throw this caveat that I don't know what Jay Keith's actual philosophies are. This might be his thoughts too, and maybe I'm just putting it on to say Ed Orgeron telling him what to do. I don't know. And I don't know. Maybe John Emery being out changed things. Again, I don't know. But, yeah, there did seem to be this just over-the-top push for get back to Joe Brady's 2019 offense. He literally used those words. And I think that that can be just a limiting kind of thinking. The idea that, all right, well, these two runs worked every time in 2019. This is who we are. And it's like, context matters, man. Like, you had a first-round pick running back and a pretty good O-line. And, again, a passing attack that was an all-timer that opened everything up. So it's just a different situation. And Jacob Hester put some really good points. I'll always defer to him on running game stuff. And he was just like, Ty Davis Price, you should be running B to B straightforward stuff because that's his real main skill set. And the idea that you're kind of running side-to-side zones or, just simple zones probably makes things even harder for him. So, and again, I think Sean did at least admit that they need to be better there, so it'll be really interesting to see what they do. But that was definitely something that really held them back Saturday.
How much of that is Max Johnson not being as involved in the run game? Because they're obviously with no John Trey Kirkland, there's no third-string quarterback, and then you don't want to get Max Johnson hurt in a run game where you have essentially a backup true freshman in Garrett Nussmeier. So is that ability for him not to be able to pull on a quarterback choice kind of taking or eliminating some of what they want to do on offense?
That's actually a good question. I don't know the answer because I've always been kind of told, like, hey, guys, like, this offense isn't, like, it's not like there's a bunch in this offense to be running, like, a Cam Newton run game and then we're just holding it back for, Matt. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, at least it's what I've been told, that it's not as if they're just holding back this, Pat White, Steve Slate-esque team here. I think Johnson's mobility is probably more about his ability to run around and kind of scramble and things like that. But are they probably keeping that in their holster a bit, like, one or two plays less than they would? I think you're absolutely right. But I think the problems are just so much greater than, not being able to run Max Johnson. But it's a really good question. It may be something we should ask about today.
Brody, thank you for your time this morning, man. We'll talk to you weekly here on the show. And obviously, what do you expect to hear today from O? I mean, did you listen to his interview this morning?
I'll be actually, I'm a real straight shooter, man. I didn't get to listen. I'm in the car, but I read all the tweets. But I expected Orgeron to, one thing I always will give him credit for is he's usually full throttle when things go, usually will be like, hey, here's what we did wrong. I'm going to tell you what we did wrong, and here's how we're going to fix it. So I think it's going to be a lot of him, maybe not being transparent about what's being fixed, but a lot of, we messed up, here's what we messed up, and he's usually good about that.
Brody Miller on Twitter, at Brody A. Miller, a weekly here on the Jordy Culotta Show, and you can read his work over at The Athletic. Thank you, man. Talk soon.
Thanks as always, guys. Take care.
All right, man. There's Brody Miller checking in this morning from The Athletic. Make sure and check him out. Remember, daily, we're brought to you by Falaya Real Estate. Get online and find out how Falaya can help you today sell or buy your home. They're changing the way they do that over at Falaya.com. If you're looking to sell your house this fall, thinking about for sale by owner, check out Falaya's listing plans. They start at $399. You can sell your house by yourself. Save thousands with Falaya. It's online at Falaya.com or download the app inside of your Google Play and your Apple App Store by logging online to Falaya.com and check them out. Call Barrett Blondo, 225-939-6153, 939-6153, or online at Falaya.com to keep up with the latest of what's happening over at Falaya Real Estate. Barrett Blondo has changed the way that real estate is bought and sold in this market, check out Falaya Real Estate over at falaya.com. Interesting stuff there from Brody. We will talk to or hear from Ed Ogeron coming up here today. He was obviously speaking this morning. I can't wait to go back and check out that interview from this morning and then set up what he'll be talking about today. But it will be interesting to hear how they have made adjustments on some of the things that haunted them last weekend. I wonder how he uses Garrett Nussmeier over the next 2 weeks. I wonder how he handles the reps between Max Johnson and Garrett Nussmeier.
I feel like you got to keep Max out there until they get real comfortable together, because I think that's been something that kind of has been swept under the rug. Is that's only his third start. Like, I know he looked great in those last 2 games last year, but I mean, 3 starts under your belt, and
only one is QB1.
One is QB1, and one against a putrid Ole Miss defense, and then you go into the year, a lot of expectation on you, and you throw him out there against a bad offensive line, new offensive coordinator. It was essentially like a first start.
Yeah.
Like, you almost have to wipe the slate clean. You saw what he can do, but this is a new scheme, new everything. So I think he played great considering the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see him out there and just get more reps, get more comfortable throwing to other players than Butte.
Yes, I agree with that. I think that you really have to make sure that Max Johnson is comfortable before you start developing any depth at quarterback as far as the reps go on Saturdays, because Johnson's just got to get as comfortable as possible behind that line of scrimmage. Dropping back, seeing things out there,
reading the field,
everything that comes with playing that position.
And being able to trust what you see, because it was the timing that was off. That was it. There were people open, and he was making the right reads. He just didn't trust himself immediately to make the throw. And if you put in Nussmeier, like, anything earlier than, 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, he'll be the most popular guy in town. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't really need to stir that pot right now. I'd imagine you ride with Max Johnson until, the wheels fall off, essentially.
But do you think that's what he'll do?
Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. I think that he has to.
Because if you bring in Nussmeier early when people are still at the McNeese game, and it doesn't even have to be a blowout, but if he gets to be seen, people always clamor for the backup quarterback, and especially with his play style, it'll pop and be like, I mean, look at what we could be working with here. I just think that's a bad time to do it, especially because Max Johnson has played, I would say, well, going into, what is his 4th start?
Yeah.
Good stuff from Brody Miller. The line this weekend, Roy Hill is asking for the line this weekend. I think I saw 24. Was it 24?
I mean, how can you even touch it? You have no idea what you're looking at with LSU football.
Did you bet on this past game?
Of course
you
I did.
I don't even know why.
Are you kidding me?
One
I got
of
all
those things as it was coming out of my mouth,
it.
I was like, wow.
I may have to change my phone number.
What happened with that?
What do you mean what happened with it? They lost.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I'm over here covering. I'm hearing all this inside scoop. I think that we're going to be great. I mean, I got Brody Miller telling me all this nonsense that's apparently not true. And he's like, I got caught up in it. And I was like, well, I'm reading everything you're writing. And I'm just like, well, you must know something. And it turns out nobody knows anything. So that's what happened. And now I had to see with my own eyeballs. And now, wipe the slate clean, change the phone number. Who knows?
Bounce town.
Bounce town. Omar's coming.
Oh, my gosh.
It'd be terrifying.
Yeah, right. Shea Dixon's going to stop by here at the end of the hour. We'll ask him about some of the effects that is being felt in recruiting right now, as we were over at a classic on Friday night between St. Thomas More and Madison Prep. Walker Howard and Quincy Wiggins squaring off against one another. It was a classic that came down to a last-second field goal by Madison Prep to win the game at the buzzer down there at St. Thomas More. We appreciate the Cougars for taking care of us and setting us up down there with Noah and Jack. What's the biggest game on the docket this week? If you have one, jump inside of the bunker or the chat app, wherever you may be watching us, and let us know. We are always looking for the biggest matchups in high school football.
I think you've sunk your teeth into the motley crew over
Jack
there. They
loves
love it.
Yes.
They're loving going to cover the games.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet, man. I mean,
but I didn't know how they would react. Be like, oh, I got to go cover high school football.
I know.
But they're like, oh, my God, where are we going next week? Like, this is awesome that y'all love this, because
high school football is the best.
It's electric.
It is the
it's
best. I
fun.
mean, that's how I got my start in the business, and really gave me the bug. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't wait to get back.
Why is that?
To
Why
high
is
school.
it
It's just so different. It's
just-
so cool.
It's
Yeah.
so raw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so pure. It's so cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
like
cool.
it's the the sights, the sounds, the smells, it just feels very community oriented. Feels very down home.
It's like a tailgate. Like the whole thing's just like one big tailgate.
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess so.
Except it lets your kids run around out there.
That's
If
true.
you can get a good one, like if you can get a good game, I mean, nothing beats a good Friday night football game that goes down to be a classic, like the one last week. Really, the jamboree between Woodlawn and Madison Prep was a classic.
Yeah.
I mean, it came down to the last play of the game in which Jordan Matthews, the Woodlawn 5-star cornerback, came in and made the play and busted up the pass to preserve the win for Woodlawn. But, I mean, that was, wow, Catholic High plays Acadiana. That seems like that's probably the best one in the
That's
state.
here, I think,
is that
right?
at Memorial,
I think
Vince?
so.
I think that game is at Memorial Stadium. If so, that's probably the 1 seed going into the weekend, because that seems like that is going to be a heavyweight fight with Acadiana's got the big defensive end that's committed to Alabama.
Well, that's what I said. We should ask Shea for who we should spotlight for the guys to like kind of focus in on and see who they should kind of highlight throughout the day with their video camera.
With their little camera.
Little camera we got, a little handy cam out there.
But
It works great.
That
dude.
has coming great. That's
It
coming
was.
great.
They did a great job.
But whatever I worked for,
Walter Bob.
Oh,
How about that name, bro?
that can't be real.
Wait, who's
It's
that?
real. It's real.
Who's
Would you go?
Walter
Would you go Walt Bob?
I'd go Walt.
Walt
Yeah.
Bob.
Walt Bob
Who's Walter Bob?
is
He's
the
in the
big
chat.
defensive end.
Oh, that's his.
Okay.
For
I thought he was in the
Acadiana.
chat.
Wait,
No.
his last name is Bob?
Walter Bob Jr. is the
Okay.
defensive end's name from Acadiana.
You gotta switch it, huh? Bob Walter. That's a real person.
And then they got LaTerrence Welsh as the defensive back on Acadiana.
Oh, yeah, yes.
I mean, who's just a unit, bro. I mean, that guy is enormous. Yeah, it looks like the Catholic High Acadiana game should be the 1 seed going into the weekend. Yes, that game is at Memorial.
Nice.
The game is at Memorial. Good deal. Good deal. All right, we'll be there.
But I got to see, like, that's whenever I sunk my teeth into, like, high school football, I guess, after playing it. I was out there. But I worked for the LHSAA, and we got to go to the Dome.
Wow.
And that's when I just missed out on a Leonard Fournette. They lost in the semifinals. Before,
John Curtis?
Yes. And I was so excited to go see him play in high school. But that's when you get down there, like, we were allowed to go on the field. And you get down there and you got to see like Speedy Noel run around.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my God, these guys are so good.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's such a step up whenever you get to like Baton Rouge and the amount of players that they have here from where I was from.
You
So that's
bet
what
on
makes
high
it cool.
school too?
Huh?
You bet on high school football too?
I could find you a couple lines,
You
I'd
do?
imagine.
For sure. Jimmy Ott
Jimmy
got
Ott.
lines for sure.
NastyRatings.com. They'll put the numbers out.
In fact, Jimmy was my first kind of like cut my teeth with high school football. Because Jimmy really was like, he used to love, I mean, I'm sure he still does, but like he used to cover it every week where he'd go to a game and he'd either be calling the game or the radio, or he was kind of the first ones that was like ahead of recruiting. Like he was the one that was like getting videotape, editing videotape, and cutting up highlights of
Couldn't
recruiting.
see that in a second, him working on a computer.
I mean, it was more of like the video technology.
Yeah.
It was those guys, Alan Traylor over at the Pelican, that were helping him out doing that editing. And I came along, and he would throw me out on a Friday night with a camera, and I would just go get B-roll and talk to people. And then he took me to the state championship games, and the state championship used to be it was like a weekend. You know what I mean? Like you'd get there on like a Thursday, and they'd play Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
It was like that whenever I covered it too.
Was it?
Yeah, it's just every you had no break.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fantastic. And him and all these guys from New Orleans were up in the suites just laying lines and betting. And I'm like,
Throwing
looking at these
money
like,
around.
wow, bro, this is amazing. Look at this. I mean, we got Carr minus 10 and you in and you out. Oh, my God. I'm in. Why not?
Open up that wallet.
Yeah.
Line of the week.
Right. But just
Their punter's a freshman. He's only 15.
Yes,
He's gonna choke. Special teams are
anybody
terrible.
got any news on Rayville? What'd they do last weekend? You're like, I don't know, man. I got no idea. Fuck it, we'll take him. You know, like
He passes.
give me Rayville minus 10.
This kid passes. He passed algebra yet. Is he gonna play? I talked to the teacher.
Hey, did we decide to do fantasy league, or did y'all do that without me?
No,
too?
we still have. We have one day.
We still have it.
One day. That's it.
Yeah, they have Thursday.
Well, I mean, the NFL season starts tomorrow night.
What happens if you're late? You can't do
No,
it.
it starts Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
You can't do
we
it.
got
You're
Wednesday.
done.
Yeah, so we have one day to throw it together. Phone line or fantasy? Which one are we picking?
Yeah, right. What's the
We have to
emphasis going to be
cheat.
We're
today?
a big do it tomorrow show here.
You
We
think?
can knock that out tomorrow.
Just call me tomorrow.
I'll wake up about 6:50. Y'all here?
Oh my God.
GoFlow IV and Spa. Remember, GoFlow is a proud sponsor here of the Jordy Culotta show. Get my name right. GoFlowIV.com is where you find them online. Ask them about memberships. They've got 3-month, 6-month, and annual memberships available. It's Baton Rouge's premier medical spa, specializing in IV hydration treatments with vitamin infusion. You can go see them. They're across from Hebert Specialty Meats on Jefferson Highway. They're online at GoFlowIV.com. They have treatments that can help you with dehydration, skin care, and beauty care, athletic performance. If you're sick, they can help you recover with some of their treatments. It's also a great hangover cure.
Jet lag here.
Chronic illness. Yes. Yeah, we need to get in there.
Yes.
Yeah. It does help you with your sleep. And it's tough to bounce back from those 2 hours, bro.
The 2 hours make a huge difference.
A huge
I
difference.
lived there for a little while, and going back and forth, it was exhausting.
I
I
mean,
mean, it was
it
like
is a
stupid.
huge
It's just 2
difference.
hours.
Wow, U-High plays Woodlawn this weekend.
2 cameras?
Brian Trudeau. Walter Bob has as much chance of being eligible as Jordy does passing the mortgage exam.
Oh my God.
Fucking
That was
mortgage
quite
exam,
a burn.
bro.
Where's that
Brian.
notebook, dude?
Good God.
bird.
That mortgage exam.
Where was this? Oh, my
man,
God.
that
Talk
thing
about
was
time
a-
flying.
Jesus, man.
God, it does seem like that was forever ago.
Tell me about it.
Did great on the show when you took it here.
Yeah.
Huh?
A little pop
You
quiz.
did do great on my pop quiz.
The pop quiz was great.
I missed about 2 points, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not going again. I'm not taking this.
I mean, it's brutal.
Dumb test.
I'm glad you didn't get
I'm
the
glad
gig.
too.
Those,
I'm glad too, honestly.
Nothing worse than finishing the last question of the exam in that 3-minute window of them calculating the score and you waiting to see if you've passed or failed.
And
Yeah,
it
that's
just
what
seems
it
like
I mean,
it's
that
buffering
is-
forever. You're just staring right at it.
That is the worst. And then it hits you with the failure. Damn it!
well,
And everybody's like, sorry, I failed again, bro. Yeah,
shit,
right.
man.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Did you have like an
school.
outburst? in the
Yes,
room?
on the third. Yes, on the last time. Are you kidding?
Did you really? You act like,
Yes.
yeah.
I mean, the last time I did. I mean, like the first 2 times, I was like, shit, man, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. And the third time, I mean, the score came across. I was like, gotta be fucking kidding me, man.
It settles in and then you're
Shit!
like, yeah.
I mean, I was like, fuck this test. Really?
Who's with me?
I
I'm
mean,
out
fuck
here.
this test, man. This business is nothing but about relationships anyway. Get me in. I mean, I'll never be asked about this stupid shit on this
It's so
test
true.
ever.
It's so true. I was
I
mad
mean,
about it.
all
too.
your answers are tricks. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to trick me with your
Who's writing
words.
this?
I mean, good God, man.
Just let me in.
For God's sakes, let me in the club.
Can't do it.
I mean, fuck this test, man.
Well, the
Test.
the thing is,
Give me a break.
it's people like us that are staring at the screen so intently because we know we're right at
Yes,
the razor's
yeah,
edge. Like, I'm
right,
not gonna
right.
fucking ace
And I can
this thing.
study this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can lead the class, read from the book, take the test, and fail by 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just right there on the edge.
It's always this way.
Shit.
I'm
I
glad
love that
I'm
you
glad
acted
it went
out.
down like that.
It's so fun. You're like, shh, man, fuck you too.
Yeah, right. All those squares, man. The people monitoring the class. I didn't tell you could get up. Well, I'm getting up. How
I
about
failed,
that?
all right, that's you can ask
Right?
next.
Here's my pencil and my scan sheet and my trash sheet. Fuck that test, man.
Need you people.
Yeah, right.
Nobody needs
Get
a
out of here,
mortgage.
man. It's disgusting in here.
Do this on my own.
Bunch of squares.
Yeah,
It worked out the way it should have worked out.
Yeah.
sure.
It did.
Well, screw you, Brian.
It did. Brian, do you know Brian?
No, I don't know
You don't
Brian.
even know him at all. He just burned you.
He's probably in the
Yeah,
mortgage
right.
industry.
We're gonna set up.
Probably is.
We're gonna set up a one-on-one with him and Walter Bob in a tackling drill. Hey, Walt. Old Brian here thinks you can't pass the ACT.
God, you dumb.
Yeah, right. Both of you on your backs on the whistle. Get up and get at each other one-on-one.
Bet he could spell Oklahoma. This guy's in the mortgage field.
Brian,
He's
yeah.
like, glad you
High
did get
society
in.
prick.
Your test.
Yeah, right. Take your test and get out of here. U-High Woodlawn seems like a good game.
Where's that?
I don't know, that's a good question. Nick, where is that game? U-High Woodlawn. Let us know inside of the
Nick?
bunker. The guy inside the
Oh.
Nick Williams said the U-High Woodlawn
I
game.
looked around the room like.
But no, that the Ghost of Christmas Past. That was. I thought you were asking the same guy that you just called a prick. Like, wait, what sort of game is?
I was calling him a prick for Walter Bob, not through me. That was from Walt.
Directly.
Yeah, right. Stick around. We'll talk more with Shea here.
Is he coming?
Let me get him. Let me give him a little text. Little 10 minutes at U-High.
Oh, it's at U-High.
I mean, you could really do both on Friday night if you were really adventurous. You could
Well,
do
how
a
does that
Memorial
work?
Stadium U-High. You could do a first half,
half,
second half
yeah.
type deal at halftime. Get over to U-High, or probably start U-High Woodlawn. I don't know, man. But that it's possible. You could do both of those games.
Yeah, you could catch both, but in high school football, you want to catch the end because it's
Yeah.
always seems to come down to the wire.
It does.
And it's so tense in there because you just feel weird watching them. And you got parents yelling. It's like, well, they're 16 years old. Of course LSU can't run a cover two. What the hell do you think this guy's gonna do?
Right.
We don't know how to run zone defense.
Why did LSU play the freshman? Why did LSU not play the freshman running backs? That's a great question. Armani Goodwin was. It sounds like he was not available. It sounds like he got a little banged up in camp. Shea's on Essen Lane.
No.
Shea's on Essen Lane.
All right, Shea.
It sounded like Armani Goodwin was not accessible. He was not available for the game. I was surprised not to see Corey Kiner. Surprised more to see Trey Williams play before Corey Kiner.
Don't you think it was just a no-win situation for the running backs in that game? I don't think it was a running back problem. It was you're feeding him to the dogs if you put a freshman out there. Where I don't think he would get hurt, but he would. There's nothing he brings to the table that I would say that would change the game or that the other running backs weren't doing right. It was just like this is broken.
Lost cause. Yeah.
So that's what I would say. You don't want to get him in the game when like that, where he gets his first reps in college football. He's like, oh God, this is going to be way harder than I expected. Like you want to ease him in, give him some confidence, as opposed to I just got my ass kicked.
Yeah, for sure. Daily, we're brought to you by Nevadis here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, you can get in touch with Randall Nachman and his crew over at Nevadis to help you out with anything that you may need as far as putting your web design together. If you need a mobile app developed, Nevadis can help you out as well. Look them up online at nevadis.com. Ask Randall Nachman and the crew to help you out like they did for us. Check out the new website, jordyculottashow.com. You can pick up some gear, some merchandise there, and know the whole time when you're navigating through there, it's pretty easy to bounce around, found out information, get to the store, get to the testimonials, whatever you may need to get to over at jordyculottashow.com. That is all coming from the creative mind from Randall Nachman and the crew over at Nevadis. Let them help you out today at nevadis.com. Take a small little break. When we come back, we'll set up for Shea Dixon to get here. Talk more LSU football, Tigers and McNeese coming up on Saturday. We'll talk to him about that matchup, get his thoughts on California as he was out there at UCLA over the weekend. We'll obviously get his lasting thoughts on that trip to Cali, what the game was like for LSU versus UCLA, and where does LSU go from here? We'll talk to Shea Dixon in a couple of minutes right here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. GoFlow IV and Spa, 7970 Jefferson Highway is where you can find them, or you can simply go online to goflowiv.com. GoFlow IV Spa is a medical spa that specializes in IV hydration with vitamin infusion. At GoFlow IV Spa, they can help you with a wide range of issues, from skin care to illness recovery, athletic performance, hangover cure, chronic illness, and even chronic dehydration. GoFlowIV.com or stop in and see them, 7970 Jefferson Highway. Abear's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73 or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, abearsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Abear's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. abearsmarkets.com. All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, presented every day by Go Chevrolet. Check them out online at GEAUXChevrolet.com. Tom Granning says, I need some help from A-Bears this weekend. You got it, Tom, if you're in town. Let me know. I got some gift cards for you and how we can get them to you.
Sorry.
What is that?
He's in town. He'll be at the game.
He's in town right now?
No, he'll be in town this weekend for the game.
Okay.
He said he's setting his RV up to tailgate.
Well, just let me know when you get in town, Tom, and I'll get you some gift cards over at A-Bears. And
Let us know where your tailgate is, too, Tom.
You might need them before Friday. You might be trying to tailgate with little A-Bears.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And if I need to secure some of the cuts for you, Tommy, just let me know before you get here. And we'll make sure that they are standing by over there for you at whatever A-Bears location is convenient for you. There's 2 of them, Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway, and then out on Highway 73 in Prairieville. Is it Prairieville? Is it Gonzales? Is it Dutchtown? Oh, what is that?
No idea.
I just say Highway 73.
I'm so bad at all that stuff.
I don't think... Yeah, Ascension is safe. Ascension is safe.
But I don't know my Louisiana parishes.
I don't know the Prairieville... Like where exactly? I feel like if I go up Airline and I get past, once I get past Highland,
yeah,
I feel like I'm kind of like in Prairieville.
That's how I feel.
But then when I get off the interstate at Highway 73, is that Dutchtown or is that Highway 73 or is that Prairieville?
See, this is the thing that I'm terrible at. Exactly what you're doing. People start when I take airline upset. I'm like, I don't even know where you're talking. I don't even know how you got to airline. Like, I just put it in my phone.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you got
You don't know
to
that Jefferson Highway, the one of the main arteries that cuts through the city. You were on Jefferson Highway every day of your life.
Oh, so I could get to Jefferson Highway.
So if you stayed on Jefferson Highway,
I can't get to Jefferson Highway from here, but I can.
Yes,
Okay.
What do you mean?
That's because I don't know where it is.
I
mean,
scared.
you can't help but get to Jefferson Highway from
so
here.
it's that one. It's this
Is this
one.
like
Right,
a
absolutely.
ruse? Like, are we all playing along here, or do you really not know where Jefferson Highway is?
I
Are
don't
we trying
look
to
at.
pretend
I don't look
we're
at
out in the country.
I don't look at things like that. Wherever
Like
we are, however we
road
get there, we got there.
People with no sense of direction scare me.
Me too.
I'm that person.
Me too.
Terrify me.
Yes.
Especially people. Look at him.
Hey, Shay.
Especially people that are like from a place
You look
that have
confused.
lived a place. What's the deal? You nervous?
Yeah. You did their first
Are you
time.
nervous?
Does the Culotta show have a stench on it right now that nobody wants to be with?
You're marked, man.
Yeah, right. We've heard about your show, bro. Everybody's talking about how you're talking shit about everybody.
Here's a list of questions. That
What'd y'all say about me?
Nothing.
Nothing.
We
Nothing.
just wondered if you were coming.
Nick
here.
Tarina says, "Are we giving away gift cards?" Nick, we are to A-Bear's specialty meats, and I've got you two
Yeah.
set up. Tell Miss Beth hello. Tell Coach Beth hello. Shout out to the Tarinas. Good to see Nikki bouncing around inside of the chat app this morning. Got you a gift card to A-Bears, bro. You're all taken care of. Shay D, what's up, man?
Hey, man, I made it.
Yes, good to see
Yeah,
you.
I
How
like
was
that
how was your trip back? How was your trip there?
Long. I guess long.
I hate that I only saw you one day. LA is our vibe, bro.
It was fun. But I saw you at the alumni thing.
That's what I'm
Snuck
saying.
up. I didn't even realize you were going to be out there. I don't know. There was a lot of LSU fans.
There was a lot. We did the family thing. We went up to Santa Barbara for a couple of days and made the day I saw you in Pasadena. We had gotten back into LA that morning, so we had kind of been out of the loop for a minute. But just a great. I mean, it was a great trip. Really, I mean, besides the football game, and we'll get to it. I mean, it was a phenomenal trip. I mean, just the weather, the vibes,
good time.
dispensaries. It was just,
I was wondering when that was
The weed, just the weed was great.
I was. I got in Friday, and we did the whole Bravo Friday night thing.
wow.
A
Like-
$1 million listing.
We drove by that, but
Oh,
we
literally
went and,
like Bravo TV. I didn't
yeah,
know what you were talking about.
went and ate at all the different restaurants and
Oh,
popped
okay.
around.
Real Housewives of OC.
Got it.
Real Housewives of Shea D. We were rolling.
I've never even watched it. I don't even know anything
Then
about that.
Cut Katie's mic off. I'll take it from here. No, we had a good time, but hey, y'all are laughing. I saw Ronnie Rance was
Yeah.
out there doing it big
Yes, he
in
was,
the
bro.
West Hollywood area.
How much floral was he wearing?
I had a
Pops was out there.
yeah,
doing
old
it big.
Pop was out there. I had that Santa Barbara hat on that I had, and Rance. I saw him at the tailgate and walked up to him like, "What's up, big fella?" He goes, "Sweet hat, bro."
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, he's like, "You fucking poser."
Big tourist, huh? Yeah.
Meanwhile, his hat says "Sup," S-U-P.
No.
Like,
No, sir. He was wearing the hat from the restaurant. I'm telling you.
What restaurant is that?
One of the
Beverly
One of
Hills.
the
yeah,
Bravos.
one of the one of the Bravo restaurants.
So he was doing the same
railing
thing you were
on
doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, but he was on the
on a
next
higher
level.
degree.
On a
Yeah,
way
like on a
higher degree.
way. I mean, I stepped into a tourist trap
Yeah.
and picked up a hat.
No, I saw
The
and then
longboard.
I was on the Sunday morning flight home. I think it was the Derek Stingley flight, that United flight that just came straight back. Bunch of the parents were on it, but Ronnie was on it. My man was in Gucci loafers, like a top hat.
No
I
doubt
was
about
like,
it. Anybody need
kinda
me to
leave-
sing to wake you up this morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, he hops right on the
Yeah, he'll
PA
hop on a
system
mic.
on the plane.
Don't be ashamed.
I hope Ronnie doesn't think I'm making fun of him because
No, I hope you
actually
do think I'm making fun of you, Jumbo.
I'm not. I thought I said
You
that
and your
guy
weird
is
ass hat.
living life
He was
this weekend.
He was.
He had a
He is
blast.
LA.
And he will
is
be the
LA.
first to tell you, I take some chances on my fashion now. He's like, I have some hits, some miss. Like, Ron, I haven't seen you hit in a long time.
I mean, the people that meet Ron for the first, they're like, he's fucking huge, man. And I'm not meaning like he's just
No,
a
he's a bear of a
massive
man.
dude.
Was he
bro.
a pitcher?
Yes.
Yes.
Lefty.
They're about 85,
Yeah.
What do you think he is? 6'5"?
6'7".
I mean, dude,
He's huge, man.
Huge. I mean, I'd say he's 6'6".
Yeah.
He's all of 6'6", and then I mean, I don't want to start guessing people's weight, but my man is just.
I want to see you two young bucks go say all this to his face.
Yeah, oh, I would actually to Ron with my hat on.
I've said much meaner things
No
to
doubt
Ron
about
working
it.
for him, and he's just like, all right, we good?
He's
We're
the
good here?"
best.
Yeah.
He's the best. I mean, you can go back and forth with Ron.
Yeah, that's what he wants.
Yeah, he does. He kind of like that. I mean, like, sweet hat, bro.
Yeah, he
you
wants-
douchebag.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
nice
come
one
at
to
me.
you.
Yeah, right.
Punch him in the stomach.
And I was talking about his tone to me.
So I'm looking at the lineup. Brody, Frank, and Shea. That's a solid group right there.
Frank bailed.
Nice. Okay.
7:27 got the text that he was bailing at 7:30. Seems like something popped over there at Lake Charles this morning. They have a staff meeting coming up at 8. Maybe we make it up someday this week. But Brody and Shea for sure, 2 heavy hitters. Got you batting cleanup, bro.
There we
go.
I sat up at the press box with Brody.
How was the Rose Bowl? What'd you think of the overall day, game, stadium, whole experience?
It was odd to the extent of like LSU. I guess I just know, just being married to Emily and her being around athletics, administration, football for 10 years, and us being around the stadium and being in media, to where everything's like done to a T. You got to the Rose Bowl and no worker there knew anything, like where media should go. Like I walked into the game with my full backpack, past all these sheriffs, cops, whatever they were. Nobody said anything.
Nobody
No one
checked
checked
you?
my bag. I didn't know where to go.
Just
Just
wandering
kinda
around.
wandering
How
around.
bizarre.
And then when we got in, it was much of this that no one knew how to say. Get up to the press box.
Wow.
It was.
I love that.
It was. I think they had a rule in the like the only rule of the press box was, and they didn't even have press box food. They just give you a voucher, and you get to go downstairs and just get something from the like concession stand.
Wow.
And then it said
Which they had no concessions in the stadium. They were all outside of like the corridor. You know what I mean? Did you notice that? Like there was nothing like you couldn't walk out of your seat, walk directly.
Okay, no. See, we took like an elevator down to like the club level, which did have that,
Okay.
but it wasn't anything fancy. So then,
Okay.
the only rule of the press box it said is you weren't allowed to eat at your like seat, which is weird. So I repeated that to the guys we were with, Scooter Hobbs. Just gotta go sit down and eat
Not
my
today.
food. Not today.
Y'all good with smoking too?
Yeah, exactly.
But it was gorgeous, obviously.
Yeah.
The view and the sunset and the crowd, but the actual whole game day operations of it all was oddly just sort of like they all just show like they had never put on a game before.
Uh-huh.
It was weird.
Yes, I agree. I mean, it was very much like
And it was hot as hell.
it was hot. It was sun hot. It was like it was just like beating down on you hot. It was
And all they
different
had
than
out there was
humidity.
the golf course thing and then a parking lot.
Yeah.
So everyone's just standing in a parking lot waiting to get in.
Yeah, it was kind of weird the tailgate scenarios. All right, so then the game kicks off, and it looks as if LSU is kind of handling the early pressure of the game, and then it swings in the second quarter. What was your biggest takeaway from Saturday after watching LSU play for the first time in 2021?
That it felt more like it is just one game, right? And I get that rhetoric of, and it's true. It's very matter of fact that everything that they have on, the goals for them this year is still in front of them, SEC-wise, all of that. But it felt more like you went 5-6 instead of 0-1, right? Because everything looked like all the problem areas from a year ago, and I'm being general here, but 3 or 4 of the biggest problems areas from a year ago you were facing again right out of the gates, and it sort of felt like you kind of picked up where you left off, which is surprising when you've made 2 new coordinator hires and 6 of the 10 on-field coaches are new, and you've had 8 months to kind of right all the wrongs of the offseason, and they seemed so confident, right, that they had cleaned up a lot of those areas, and then the O-line looked bad, the D-line was getting gashed, the linebackers looked lost, the DBs were losing guys on crossing routes, communication looked bad, averaging less in the running game than they did a year ago, which was rough. So, and it was the Keyshawn Butte show, which the last 2 games of last year were just the Keyshawn Butte show. So it was weird. I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to look exactly like it did last year.
Were you obviously everybody was surprised, but to see John Emery not dressed and John Trey Kirkland felt again a lot like the past.
I think those are both academics, though.
Yeah.
Well, and you should be able to beat them without John Emery and John Trey Kirkland anyways. And if the game plan would have been to run John Emery up the middle on the exact same plays the whole time, I'm not sure what would have been different. But yeah, I agree that it would have been nice to have him out there. Maybe, Trey Palmer clearly is having a big role on this team unless guys like John Trey come back and have that role or some of these freshmen step up. But I mean, I thought Besh, Brian Thomas, you get these guys in the game and throw it to them once, and then you don't ever throw it to them again.
And then they never get back on the field. It was very confusing, man. I thought Besh looked great on that crosser.
He looked fluid.
He looked very fluid. He looked as if he was very intense into the game. And I mean, he started. He was on the field for the first offensive play of the season.
Well, I would say because of his reaction, I thought he was going to be utilized much more. Like, it wasn't like, all right, we're putting you in for this specific play, because they talked about having packages built around him. But it looked like, I'm here for the long haul. Like, him getting up like that, it's like, all right, we're moving this way.
Right.
And then he just disappears. And then you see, like you said, you see those freshmen come out and never come back again. It was just it was, like you said, very odd. But
it was very bizarre.
I think they have, like, certain spots where they want to put them in. I guess, I don't know if they never got back to where they could utilize them again that they thought would be successful.
What's the concern level around the offensive line coming out of week one? I mean, we talked about it all off season that was going to be a very much a unit that a lot of was going to, a lot of that was going, a lot of how they played was going to dictate how LSU could kind of navigate the season. I didn't expect them to be that far behind and that lost. What was your takeaway of that group, and then kind of how did they fix the issues?
I don't know about fix, but I guess my takeaway would be, and I was in the press box, and I mentioned sitting next to Brody. I was sitting next to T-Bob, and obviously he played, and he just said it in game. It was like, they look worse than they did. Like, there was no push off the line. The protections were sliding the wrong way half the time. It was all mind-boggling to anybody. I mean, even the most common fan. My dad can watch the game and tell you, this isn't how you're supposed to be playing O-line. And I guess my concern level is we saw it left tackle. Wire didn't look great. Gets a little banged up. They immediately start rotating guys. Xavier Hill, Charles Turner. We never saw, there was never those moments where you're like, hey, at least these two guys are legit. Like, Ed Ingram's supposed to be their best offensive lineman, and he was on his butt a handful of times. He's the one who false started and got 3 points taken off the board. Yeah. I mean, there's so that would be an uncharacteristic mistake, but uncharacteristic of him not to just be dominating. And he wasn't. I thought at times Chasen Hines kind of looked like the best guy. He's in a rotation with Bradford. I think at this stage Shanahan is what he is, right? I mean, you know what you're going to get out of him, and then you've got Deculus, who started a ton of games, but still, I mean, he's not going to win every rep for you. They just, for guys who have played together for that long, 5 guys, and Wire started 6 games last year.
Yeah.
I mean, for a veteran group like that to get pushed around by a UCLA team really surprised me. I did not see that coming. And look, people are going to say, and this will speak more to the overall worry that I would have for the opening game, like last year State, I'm sorry, Katie, if I'm putting it this way, but State beat them up, right? And everyone said, State could be good. Well, a week later, State's quarterback got benched, and they didn't win another game. So I think UCLA will be much better than that, right? I think that UCLA, and people are going to say, they're going to contend for the Pac-12. Well, great. All right, but pretend we didn't play UCLA. If you would just say, pick a team that's contending for the Pac-12 every year. USC, UCLA, Washington, Arizona State, whoever. Put them in the SEC where they finish. And middle of the pack is what people would say. Cool. Well, then you just got beat up by a middle of the pack SEC team. That ain't good if you're going to now face up against, if that's what a team like Ole Miss or State or Auburn might be like. What happens when you're playing Bama?
Yeah.
What happens when you're playing A&M, who is good this year? Florida.
I mean, I even watched Kentucky play, and Kentucky's got a bunch of road graders up front.
That's in Lexington. They have a great O-line.
Great O-line. I mean, and
I only know the name of one of them.
Me too.
That's all it takes.
And he took a starting spot 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like, he was only on campus for almost a month and a half, and he gets a starting spot on one of the best offensive line units in the country, especially in the league. Where are they in your perception right now? I mean, what do you anticipate hearing from him today at noon? Did you listen to the interview this morning?
No, I didn't.
What do you anticipate hearing from him today?
I actually thought he was pretty on, and I thought he was honest after the game when he sort of called both coordinators to the mat of what were we doing, And I think with the offensive side, he was like, we had one run play the whole, like we didn't do anything different. It's like, that's getting fixed now. Like, you got to fix that this week. Defensively, losing guys on crossing routes, simple stuff that was happening last year becomes worrisome. I think that they need to get Jay Ward back, and he got banged up and then left the game, and you saw how quickly when Todd Harris got banged up, you're down to Jordan Tolles, and it's like, well, safety spot all of a sudden looks shallow again, and I don't know, man. I think that you've got to reset yourself. I mean, this is gut check time right here, and fortunately for them, they're playing McNeese and Central Michigan these next couple weeks. So get your feet right, under you, figure it out, because you're not going straight into Bama. You get to go, Auburn, Kentucky, State, those teams.
You could be reeling.
But those are teams you're expected to beat if you're LSU.
Right.
Then beat them.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they're at right now. You're expected to beat those teams, beat them. That's not unfair to ask a team that came as a number 16 team in the country, returns 18, 19 starters, gets all these new coordinators, gets all these new hires, sounds a great class. Beat those teams. I think a lot of LSU fans are listening right now saying, can they?
Yeah. Can they?
I don't know. We'll see. I want to see them look. They need to look crisp against McNeese and Central Michigan.
Organized.
I think for me.
I mean, how many times did the ball get within 3 seconds of the clock? I'm thinking to myself,
Orgeron said that.
What are they doing?
I liked after the game that Orgeron, without even needing to go to the film, was saying a lot of that stuff. He was like,
he couldn't get the snap.
We got to get the play
couldn't
in.
Get the play
what are we
in.
doing? Like, I see it. Yeah, it's getting fixed. And maybe you don't see all that in camp as much as you do in that very first game, and it's all happening quickly. I think, too, though, and look, Jake Peets and Durante Jones could be world beaters at some stage, but they're two guys who've never called plays before. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I guess I shouldn't be shocked that the very first time, if they're in some sort of crunch time, that plays are getting in late, that you're not making adjustments that you need to be making. The run fits were terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stuff that's so uncharacteristic of LSU football. And I think that's what surprised people. So for me, I expect them to be 2-1 after these next few games. They very well could be, win a couple, that State, Auburn, Kentucky stretch. They could win them all. They could go 2-1. You might be sitting at something like 4-2 or 5-1 would be great. But I don't think that matters as much as, do they still look the exact same as they do right now? Are you beating those teams, but you can't run the ball? You are losing guys on crossing routes. You're having to get in 38 to 35 shootouts every game to win the game. I think in a few weeks, if we're still talking about these same issues, that's not good. I mean, you've had a whole offseason to figure that out. I think that, this is probably, and I would think Orgeron would certainly know this and know how to relay it to the team. This has to be one of the most important weeks or stretches, at least, for LSU to understand, guys, we are trending in the wrong direction.
Like
we went 15-0, and now we're 5-6.
Like LSU need like 180-degree turn.
Yeah,
like it feels like it's going completely in the wrong direction.
You think they can? I think they'll win these next couple of games for sure. I don't think they're losing to Central Michigan. Or
no, I don't either.
I think they're going to end up. I think they could put some hope back into the fan base if they can get to that stretch of Auburn, Kentucky, State, and look good, look crisp.
Yeah.
They're more talented than those teams are. Maybe not Kentucky in the trenches, but they're more talented, and that's where. Okay, if you're not as talented as in the trenches, out-scheme them, out-coach them, do whatever you got to do. But I thought that just on so many levels, it was off, right? That by the time it got, late in the third quarter, you knew they weren't going to win.
Right. Yeah, it was over. It felt over. It did.
It felt
after
like
the
LSU
turnover
was on the ropes, and they weren't getting off anymore, and UCLA just kept swinging. And when Kyle Phillips got past Stingley and scored that long, you knew it was like,
it's over.
It's over. Like, you can keep scoring, but they're going to keep scoring. So.
Like the UCLA people left after that point. I mean, it was like
they didn't even know why they were there.
Yeah, the guy was like,
they followed a pack of people into a building. Like, oh shit, hey, bring my book back.
Guy was like, we call this beating traffic in LA. I'm like, leaving the game early? He was like, that's what we do here, man. I said, okay. Well, I mean, y'all are about to win. Y'all are about to beat LSU.
They missed the confetti and the band dancing and the whole show after.
How tight was the fourth quarter scene when they play California Love?
I didn't hear that in real. I don't know what I was doing.
Oh, Shea.
I blacked it all out by then. I saw that your video that you had put, so I watched it then.
Right back in the tent.
So good. Yeah, right.
Wait, Central Michigan, 34-24
lost by 10
to Missouri. A little spicy there. Just saying, they're not a walkover.
No, that's good then.
Yeah.
Dial in.
Absolutely.
You don't need to think any of these teams are walkovers.
What'd you think of Max Johnson? Tough to grade him?
I'd say the word is tough. I mean, he was getting drilled.
He was getting killed
all night. I mean, I can't. He's one of the tougher quarterbacks I've seen play at LSU. I mean, he every time bounced right back up.
Even the play where he threw behind his back, he landed with his arm kind of like back here, and I thought to myself, that doesn't look right. Like, that doesn't look like that's going to. I mean, I know that these guys they're like almost like rubber bands at that age where they can just kind of bounce back up and shake it off. But I mean, he was, and I agree, was getting demolished back there. But he landed a couple of times where you're like, damn, I hope he gets up.
Looked like a crash test dummy.
And he bounced up every time. And I thought he made some good throws. I thought he made some bad throws. I thought the behind the back thing was one of the weird. Like,
yeah.
That was,
yeah.
I mean, we don't
just
have
a panic.
Yeah, it's okay. He's in his mind thinking, "Oh, I'm trying to keep us in field goal range. I don't need to run 20 yards backwards. I'm trying to get out of bounds." But it didn't work out that way. But look, and then the turnover where he kind of just dumped it off to the side, right into the guy's gut.
He just never saw that guy.
Yeah, it
right?
was a momentum swing, but he's low on the list of what I think the issues for them in that game. Where in fact, I thought that he kept them in stretches by just staying in there and making some plays. I mean, he knew he had no run game. He knew they were going zero cover. Nobody was sitting over the top, blitzing on every play. He'll have no time. I thought they did a good job going to that quick passing game. Mm-hmm. There, pretty much from the halftime on, it was, we're not going to try to run it anymore. Just quick passing game, and Butte's a monster. So I thought Max played fine. I mean, he wasn't the most accurate, but when he was, they made plays, and he stuck it out. He was tough as nails.
Well, you mentioned that Max is down the list, and I agree with that because of just the things around him. What are the major concerns coming out of week one?
The line of scrimmage would be up there. I thought the linebackers looked lost, and certainly in coverage, and as well trying to just get in the right gap and make plays in the run game. I thought that the safety spot became a concern again after we thought that they had some real depth there. And obviously, look, Jay Ward gets banged up immediately, and you're suddenly having to play with guys that maybe you weren't ready to call starters. But in the trenches would be my biggest thing. I was surprised that D-line got pushed around in the run game. That was surprising to me. I thought that Jay Roy, Mason Smith, Andre Anthony, and Ali Gay should almost now be playing like the whole time. Neil Farrell's good, solid player. But we've heard all this about Joseph Evans, who's getting pushed around. Yeah. We aren't getting to see Glenn Logan right now. Ojolari's a guy who's, he's a pass rush specialist for you. So, I don't know. The O-line surprised me. I thought the O-line would be better. I just did.
Me too, man.
I said, look, these guys are veteran. They might not have been good a year ago, but they acknowledged that. They put in the work. They were grinding for summer conditioning. It seemed to me like it was all going to click for them, and they were just overwhelmed. I don't know. That was the most surprising thing to me.
This is a dangerous question, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want. I asked it to Brody, and I could tell his uneasiness. What did you make of the public relations of Ed Orgeron over the weekend?
I don't. Had they won, would anybody have cared about him heckling with the fans?
That's what I said.
No. But they lost, and then it becomes an issue. Or it becomes something that people are going to bring up. But I don't know. I don't think that's why they lost.
Yeah.
I think that for me, I'm putting blame on both if it all starts at the top, right, the head coach. But the coordinators to me looked off. Like, just
slow. Everything was a step slow.
It looked like it was their first game calling plays.
Yeah.
And I think Orgeron saw it. Like, you could tell he noticed it after the game and said something about it. No, I don't. Had LSU won, the fans would have been making their same sissy blue shirts or whatever that UCLA did. It was that moment was right for one side to love it after the game, and just didn't go LSU's way.
How does the message hit recruits right now?
I thought about that coming over here. Last year they were 5-5, and they signed a bunch of studs, right? I mean, I think that a lot of them are from Louisiana, so you always go back to knowing that in this state you can recruit well, and you can tell the kids, look, we're trying to build it back towards, where we were in 2019, where we were in 2018, and that wasn't so far ago that we get these guys in here and we'll be good. I think this freshman class is really good. Like, Garrett Dellinger is probably, if we look long term, he might be the best offensive lineman on the team. So, I mean, we've got all these skill guys. I think that they need to have another really good recruiting class. They need to lock down the state, which is going to be tough if you're not winning, more, if you continue to struggle. But we've never seen some mass exodus of Louisiana kids just leaving the state because LSU's not good or what. That's like 1990s stuff there. That ain't going to happen. I don't believe it'll happen. So I don't think that's the biggest thing. And I always say this about recruits, too. Even the ones in Louisiana who hear it nonstop, unless you play for, like, I don't even know, what high school team never loses a game? Like a Cars, like, a lot of these kids lose every Friday night. They get it. It ain't the end of the world to them. They're thinking, I'm going into play. Good. That if their linebackers are no good, guess what? I'm playing earlier. That's how they kind of look at it. So they'll be. I think in that regard, especially in the short term, you're fine. You built up a program and a brand enough to where losing a game like that is not the end of the world. It's if you start to lose more and more and more that these other schools, A&M, Bama, Georgia, Clemson, whoever, are just going to put it in your ear that, hey, look, we're up here. LSU's trending this way. And maybe at that point kids start to have a tougher time or it becomes something that they're really thinking about. But right now my meter of worry for their recruiting didn't drop that much at all over the weekend.
Shaz Preston put out his top 4 or his final 4. Texas, Georgia, Alabama, LSU. What'd you make of that news?
That's what I expected. I mean, I think that Texas, LSU, Bama are probably the schools that he's really looking at. That's your guy. You love him.
Love him. Don't they? I mean,
no, he's a great player.
I've heard Coach O is
he's
like,
a legit top.
This is his guy.
50, 75. I think consensus top 100, but in spots top 50, top 75 player in the country. That would make him a top 5 or 6 receiver. He's a real deal. I mean, and he's been playing at a high level at St. James now for like 3 years. So they want him, and you can get this. I think that between this past class and this one, the receiver room gets that overhaul that you needed after Terrace and Jamar and Justin and Racy and all those guys leave the program, and now you can build towards the future with the guys we're seeing. Hopefully they get Neighbors back soon. They'll get Deion Smith back this weekend. We'll start to see some Chris Hilton. I think they'll be good. And I think guys like Shaz Preston just want to see that the passing games click, right, that they're going to get the ball, that they're going to move it around. And
be used.
Right, and they'll get there. Right now we have a 1-game sample size. I think they'll get there.
Routinely, we've seen Texas be players in recruits in this part of the process when you're naming a finalist and there's a school out there that you go visit, you want to be a part of. Have they made more headway now with the SEC logo and brand behind them, in your opinion, in talking to some of these guys?
I guess they could. I mean, they got Jamon Tapp to commit. That's not, again, out of Donaldsonville. I'm not sure that's one that's going to stick. I kind of still like LSU there, but I guess kind of. I think more so that Sark knows how to run a good program. Like, I think Sark's a much better coach than Herman, and I think Herman just had this false confidence that a lot of parents could see through at times, and that because of it, that they weren't recruiting at the level that they wanted to be. I think that they will be now. I think that they're the team to beat for Arch Manning.
Yeah, I do too.
Or Clemson. But, I think that a guy like Sark, which sounds funny to say, but can stabilize that program and be a guy that he knows how to call plays, but he also can now prove himself as a head coach, and we'll see how they'll look. I don't think that they're not going to come into Louisiana and start just routinely plucking guys, but they'll get guys here or there. The bigger thing will be there'll be a thorn in A&M's side, because there had been a stretch where once Jimbo had got there, and certainly Herman and them were still reeling a bit of is he staying or is he going, A&M had put together a couple top 5 recruiting classes. Now, how much does Texas and A&M sort of even back out in terms of the who's who of kids in that state? We'll see.
What was the feedback after Friday night down in St. Thomas More between Walker Howard and Quincy Wiggins? That was a classic football game.
Okay, so I missed all of that, but obviously I was doing my Bravo thing Friday night, and then Saturday just did straight game day stuff all day. But did Quincy get the man on the ground a few times? What happened there?
He hit him a couple of times.
STM won, huh?
No, Madison Prep won at the buzzer.
Wow.
35-34. They kicked a field goal to win the game.
The Prep special teams units are coming out.
I mean,
give him 18.
Quincy kicked it?
No, he didn't. Surprisingly, Quincy is only the defensive end on that team. Like, I'm like, you don't have a goal line package for this cat? I mean, throw a tight end pop pass to him within the 7-yard line. Just let him go jump and go get it. But, I mean, Walker was, I think he got a little banged up. I mean, It was a physical game, but, I mean, he made some throws. We had our crew out there that was getting some social media from it. They posted a throw he made in the fourth quarter where
he's that dude.
I mean, it was that thing was 12 yards off the ground for 35 yards on a guy's face mask to take back the lead in the second half. I mean, it was just it was too high. It was probably, are those the two best players in the state? Wiggins and Howard?
I think Jacoby Matthews is up there. I like Kendrick Law still a lot. But yeah, I think that's a great a quarterback and a D end is usually the kind of guys that go first in the NFL draft. So yeah, I like both those guys.
Right.
Yeah, Walker's a beast. Oh boy. People love Nussmeier too, so they've got a nice little run of quarterbacks coming.
I love it though. I love the competition there between those guys because I don't think that anybody will bail on it. I think that they'll all will compete. Now after the competition, you might have somebody to go play, but I think they're all they're all going into it.
I saw people after the game kiss Walker Howard goodbye.
Yeah,
Stop.
right.
Stop.
Right. What do you expect this weekend? You expect them to get right?
I'm excited for this. And yeah, I think they'll get right this weekend, but
you just want to go
there's a lot of storylines.
Yeah.
Frank Wilson, Cody, Blaine Gaucher's on that staff who used to work here. Jamal Pettigrew's their tight end still, I believe. So there'll be some familiar faces. What I'm excited to see a full McNeese game because the last time they played 5 minutes, and then we all sat around for 3 hours, and then Aleva said,
called it.
"It's off. We're done. Not making this one up."
Dante Jackson got a carry.
Yeah, one of my favorite things is we used that Dante Jackson, like a photo of him. I think it might have been like a punt return or something. Or maybe it was a carry and he was running.
He got
but he had the ball in his hand. McNeese people are chasing him. And we would use it over the next few years of when we do a Dante Jackson story, that would be the photo of a game that technically never happened. he's out there in full gear just running down the field. No, I'm excited about this, and I know the McNeese fans are excited too. Not thinking that they're going to come in here and pull something off, but that the in-state schools love coming to Tiger Stadium, having that experience because McNeese fans are rooting for LSU all the time. So now this is their time to come in and have some fun with it. And Frank being the coach, I was almost hoping that they would not almost hoping. I obviously did hope that LSU would win. It makes my job easier, but I was hoping this week would be more about the O versus Frank back in battle. The O versus Cody Orgeron. Your son's the quarterback. All this, but it's much more about LSU.
More intense.
It's much more about what's happening at LSU and how do you fix it than it is LSU McNeese.
Good to see. What's your game day reps like? How are you guys covering game day over at Go 247?
Well, if we're doing it like we've done we're watching a bunch of Bravo the night before or going out to wherever it must be, calling up Ronnie Rance. He comes through in the limo the next day. We go to...
Bring your book sack, walk straight in, don't have to buy a ticket.
Right. Oh, man. No, we'll just be kind of normal, getting out there, cover the game, cover recruiting, which will be fun, right? That this weekend will be the first time in 2 years that recruits have been able to been at the game on LSU's tickets, be able to be around the coaching staff and all that, and I think that's important to have them back around. I'm interested to see how packed Tiger Stadium is, even with the protocols in place, and them coming off a loss. I think that maybe both those things that bring the numbers down a little bit, and then obviously you're not playing a marquee opponent, but just people back in the stands will be fun to see. And look, we'll be out there, me and Matthew, our new hire, will be there, and we'll chop it up after the game on a quick podcast and have plenty of articles from it, but I'm still a little bit baffled. I didn't see this past weekend coming.
Yeah.
Surprised me.
Recoverable?
I think so.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't feel like it right now.
It doesn't, yeah, but I think
because I think the reason it doesn't feel like it right now is that we saw a lot of the issues that plagued them a year ago. Mm-hmm. And if you couldn't fix them in 8 months, are you fixing them in a week? Or are you fixing them in 2 weeks? But there's got to be some sort of adjustment. Coach O's been around long enough in this industry to where he knows, look, there's some hard, fast adjustments we got to make. So whatever they are, circle them and get it figured out. And I think there's got to be a sense of pride in these guys, right? Like the O-line are grown men. Those are 23, 22-year-old guys out there who they hear it. People saying, y'all didn't play well last year. I mean, they talked about it. We didn't play well last year. We got to come step it up this year. Well, game one, you didn't. I think those guys know, look, we're going to have to and almost man up in a sense, right? Like step up to the plate and take it.
And you got pushed around. It wasn't like you got out schemed. It was like you got manhandled. Like that's a gut check for your pride a little bit.
Okay, that's well put. So if you get a little gut check to the pride, I think these guys are going to bounce back and say, all right, let's fight back. We're not just going to lay here. And let's give him credit. And I know the last year is a bit of an aberration to this thought, but when they have had Troy, all these, when they've had bad losses or just they bounce back under Orgeron, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, they've come off and reeled off some games. So, did they do that this time? Can they find that spark again? That's what I'm curious of. But I don't know. And y'all can weigh in. But like, if they play great this weekend, do you feel like can you learn a lot from this game?
Right.
I think you can. I think if they're playing better and you can see it, because look, there were teams last year. I'm not on McNeese's level, but State and them weren't good, and they were like losing them on crossing routes, doing all this. Like if that's still happening against McNeese and Central Michigan,
Very telling.
Very telling. If it's not, then you start to say, okay, they're gonna let them get their feet on the ground here and see where they turn whenever this, the kind of the easier portion of SEC play begins. But I don't know. Maybe I'll eat my words again. I thought they were going to be a lot better than they showed on Saturday.
Because aren't a few McNeese, the game plan's out, right? Don't you just do exactly what you saw on last year's, on, I guess, 4 games from last year, 5 games from last year, and what you saw last week? Like, you just go, well, this is the offense. This is the way to beat LSU. Like, they haven't proven they can stop it yet. So what, they just go out and watch the tape like, all right, we can drop down 15 plays that I know they can't stop.
Well, then if LSU can't adjust to that, then yes, it's a big issue.
Go 247 Shea Dixon. He'll be here every week on the Jordy Culotta Show. Good stuff today, man. Great to see you.
I appreciate it. We'll cut it up. We'll cut it up next week, and everyone will be feeling better. Watch.
Hopefully.
Even you, Jay Cool.
Yeah. It's got to get this train off the ground, get it up in the air a little bit.
Yeah, Lloyd's feeling it.
Yeah.
Michael McClellan says he's over in Tampa. He's a Amazon delivery driver and loves listening to the show every day. He's listening this morning. Shout out to Micah down there in Tampa, St. Pete. Thanks for tuning in, man. We will be back with you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Remember, Go Chevrolet drives us every single day. Stop it and see Lee Carney, their crew over there at GEAUXChevrolet.com is where you can find them online. The Jordy Culotta Show is driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
Look at the reach you have, dude. Amazon driver and
don't let Jeff know you're slacking on the job and listening to the Jay Cool Show.
Have a great day. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, Wednesday. We'll talk some Saints tomorrow with Nick Underhill. He'll be a part of tomorrow's show as we'll start to look ahead and see what's going on Sunday.
Oh no! What if the Saints are bad too?
That the NFL season starts, right? I think Ogeron's hoping that the Saints fall flat on their face and take a little attention off of what's going on.
Have they ever been bad at the same time? Like
sure.
Recently?
Yeah,
recently.
sure,
I don't know. Recently.
Because usually you can just turn on the Saints whenever they had Sean Payton, Drew Brees. You felt okay.
I don't know if it's been recent that they've been bad, but I mean, back in the day.
I knew that. Been around.
Golly, I don't think they have in the last 15 years. Where they've aligned and having bad seasons together.
People just fist fighting in the street.
Turns into
Saints versus
Oakland games.
Yeah, right.
LSU jersey versus New Orleans State jersey. They're just laying each other out.
All right, have a good Tuesday. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning.